welcome to the Ball Knowers podcast. I'm Jack Keating here with Chase Brostek once again. Chase, how you doing?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I am feeling fantastic after that 32 point Thunder Game 7 win over the Nuggets. That was electric.
That was, I kind of thought going into the game, like, this kind of just feels like a game the Thunder win convincingly, but I was thinking more like 12, 15 points.
Hmm.
That was a massacre.
Yeah.
How many game sevens have we had so far? Is that two or three?
We had Clippers, Nuggets, Thunder Nuggets, Rockets, Warriors,
Rockets Warriors, that's right.
and I think that was it. But
Yeah,
we've
I
had a
don't
lot
think
of
that we've
lot
had
of
a
six
close
game
game seven left.
series. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a great playoffs.
hmm
Honestly, there haven't really been outside of like a few first round series. There haven't really been any like stompings. Yeah,
hmm
I guess you could say Warriors, Timberwolves.
Outside of injuries.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's Steph getting hurt. Otherwise, who knows with that? I really do wish Steph didn't get hurt, but we can get into that a little later because I feel like that series would have been pretty interesting. So we got a lot to cover in this episode. We did one last weekend, so we have covered about the first half or so of the second round. So we're gonna do the second half of the second round, a recap of that, and then looking forward a bit towards the next round, just giving general thoughts and expectations. Giving our winners and in how many games, and then we'll talk a little bit about the draft lottery as well. Um, all right, so we could just get right into it. I kind of want to start off with the Thunder series because we just saw that game 7, and that's the series we have the most games to cover in. So we covered the first 2 games already in the last episode. So if you have any interest in that, go back to last week's episode. But in game 3, the Thunder won on the road. Or sorry, yeah, right.
Game three, the Nuggets won
Oh yes,
in overtime.
I didn't write the scores down. I probably should have done that. All right. So what were your? I guess we don't have to go game by game, but we could just do a general series overlook. That probably is a little bit better. What were your takeaways from this series?
Yeah, I think game three is kind of the last poor performance we saw from Shea. It is
Yeah,
the last poor performance we saw from Shea this playoffs.
I
We
have some
saw
stats on
the
that if you
clip.
want to hear.
We saw the clip of him smiling after the game, and every time
Horrifying.
people do that, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like this moment, like, well, now you kind of have to back that up if you're going to do that after playing that poorly. And he completely did. He played MVP, best in the world level for the last 4 games of the series, especially the last 3 games of the series.
Yeah, for sure.
And his playmaking was fantastic the last 3 games of the series. A lot of people were getting on him game three, even in the fourth quarter of game four, just kind of stagnating the offense. He would get the ball and just isolate, and there was no movement, no actions being run, and bad shots going up. He's missing all of them. And these last 3 games, he's been a lot better at diagnosing the coverages on the floor and making the right pass. And he did that pretty much the entire first half of game 7. He did that all of game 6, all of game 5. He had these great plays where he would get into the mid range area, draw the double team, dump the ball to a cutter,
Hmm.
coming off screens, making the right reads, shooting it when he needs to, throwing lobs. He had the lob to Hartenstein at the end of game 5.
Yep, that was
That
big.
kind of helped them seal the game. But yeah, he was fantastic. 3 point shooting was good. Really, really proud of how he played. Really impressed with how he played,
Hmm.
and really glad he bounced back the way he did. As far as the Nuggets go, it kind of sucks. Aaron Gordon got hurt. I don't really think it would have made too much of a difference in Game 7,
I
but
don't. I think we
it
both agree
sucks
with
to
that.
see that. Yeah, I agree with that. But I just sucks to see probably not probably the Nuggets' second best player for the playoffs get hurt right before the biggest game that they've had.
No doubt about that.
Murray. Well, Murray played really well in Game 6. There was the report that he was sick going in, and I actually thought he looked pretty good during warmups. He didn't really look that groggy to me, or like he was dealing with anything. And he ended
Yeah,
up
yeah.
leading the team in minutes and playing really well that game.
I think he averaged like 42 minutes a game or 41 a game.
Yeah, he's
Obviously excluding Game 7. The starters sat for almost the entire fourth, which that was
yeah,
kind of
and
crazy. I
he
know they were down 30, but like they took their starters out with I think 8 minutes left. I I guess if you you watch the game, you could understand why because they really had nothing going for them at all. But it just felt a little early to call it quits on your season. Your season is on the line here, and let
Mhm.
Jokic go. I mean, Jokic took 9 shots in Game 7. 9 shots. Russell Westbrook took 7. Christian Braun took like 14. Like that's you can't. Why is Jokic taking 9 shots? I thought he was going to empty the tank. I thought Shea was going to empty the tank too.
Mhm.
And we saw Shea, only 4 points in that first quarter. And then he, went off. I think he finished with 35 points. But I expected a little more from Jokic in Game 7. I mean, Caruso was doing God's
Russo's
work through him.
fantastic, man.
Yeah, Caruso
Yeah.
really is just there is no. I don't know if there's a more winning player in the league right now than Caruso. He
The
is just the ultimate
superhuman role
championship.
player.
Yeah, he's just the glue that brings his team together. When you need clutch minutes, he's there to get the stops. He's hit a couple big shots in this series too, and they mentioned it probably
Mhm.
5 times within a few minute span on the broadcast in this game that at one point he had like 4 points and 2 rebounds or something, but his impact was just so massive in this game. A huge reason why Jokic only took 9 shots was because of Caruso. They were not even letting Jokic touch the ball. It
They
was
couldn't get any entry passes into
yeah,
him
it was
because
it was
Caruso was just
crazy.
running them up.
And then when he would get the ball, they would double, triple team him instantly and just swarm him and just smack the ball out of his hands over and over and over and over again. The Thunder really just did a fantastic job in this game. But back to what you were saying about Shea. I have his stats here from the last 3 games, averaging 32.7 points per game, 5.7 assists per game, on 70.6 true shooting percentage. Just an insane growth in this series. Obviously, last year he had a good playoffs too, and in the bubble he was pretty solid as well. But this series, not just him, but really all of the players, you could really see that this was the first time, especially this season, that they faced such adversity. They, basically everybody this entire season, even that first round, they swept the Grizzlies. They felt no adversity. They were just winning game after game after game with Chet out, with Ihart out, with whoever it was. It didn't matter. They were just still steamrolling. And this series, they really got some pushback, especially. I mean, obviously they lose game 1 at home, and that really set the scene for what we were going to expect in this series. I think the Thunder were not expecting to lose that game at all, and that really caught them by surprise. So then they had to go rattle off a couple wins in the next handful of games. I think they won 3 of the next 4. Um, so yeah, it's right. Yeah, I think yeah because they were up 3-2 at one point, so they won 3 of the next 4 through 2 through 5. But yeah, they really they grew a lot in this series. J Dub especially I mean, Game 7 he came up huge. That second
He's
quarter he had
amazing today.
17 points. He had 0 in the first quarter, and he had 17 in the second. Like he was huge for that huge run that we had. Obviously, we were down in the first quarter by I think 5 or 6, and then we ended up at halftime being up by three
At
or
11 at
four.
one point.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, J Dub was awesome in this game. Chet had big growth in this series as well. Lou Dort was a huge, maybe the most growth in this series, honestly, from Lou Dort. The beginning of the series, he was uh, abysmal, kind of. Like shooting wise, at least, was just garbage. Um, I think he missed 20 straight away game threes at one point, and then we can get into his stats a little more. In game 5, I actually wrote in my notes Lou Dort should be benched because of how just awful he was. And then later in that game, he goes on. I don't even. I think he hit the 3 pointer. Uh,
He had three threes in a row
yeah, he hit the
in
three
the
threes in a
fourth.
row. I think that was the game he hit the 3 right before halftime, right? To take the lead back up to 3 when we were up by like 15, and then they tied it, and then I'm pretty sure that was game
Yeah.
5. And then he came back in the fourth quarter after continuing the third quarter shoot bad. Fourth quarter comes in and just hits big 3 after big 3 after big 3, and he ended up winning that game for them. Um, and then game 6 was pretty rough for the Thunder. They didn't look that good. I mean, I didn't really expect them to win Game 6. I was very hoping that they would, but I had a feeling going into that we were heading toward a 7 game series. I didn't expect to beat Jokic in Denver.
The Julian Strother game. That was
Yeah,
special.
that was. I was at my grandma's house watching that game, and when Julian Strother checks into the game and goes on his own personal 8-0 run, I didn't.
It's over.
Yeah, like I couldn't really let out the proper emotions that I wanted to because of the company I was with. So I just had to sit there in like misery as Julian Strother's hitting game-winning threes on us over and over. And then this game, he was completely unplayable. They tried to put him in. I think it was the first quarter. They benched Jokic or I think it might have been the second. I don't remember. They benched Jokic and Jamal Murray at the same time, and in 93 seconds, we go on an 8-0 run, and then Julian Strother did not see the court the rest of the game because, like, I mean, that was a pretty crazy call by David Adelman to bench both Murray and Jokic in a game 7.
Yeah, that was terrible. And Malone used to do that too.
Yeah,
So maybe it's kind of just a rotational tendency that he's been with the team and he's seen that already. I'm interested to see how the Nuggets are next season if they decide to stick with him, but that's a
I think
different
they will.
conversation. They
I think
they
they
pulled
should.
him out. They should, and I've talked to Nuggets fans that agree that they should, but um, they took them out and the run started, and like once the Thunder got rolling and they like kind of started getting some deflections and getting out in
Mhm.
transition, it was just a complete avalanche. And the
That's
Nugget,
how
it
this
just
team
never felt like the
operates.
Nuggets had any chance to get back in the game because they just kept on turning the ball over. Caruso, Kaysen, Dub, Dort, like they were just in the passing lanes. It felt like 10 plays in a row. Every
Mhm.
play was a fast break, and you can't win a game when you're they couldn't even get Jokic the ball. Like he couldn't get deep
Yeah,
in the
he
post.
literally had 9 shots. Like that is just insane.
Yeah,
That's
like every time Jokic got the
unbelievable.
ball, every time he got the ball, he'd get the ball at the 3 point line. He gets the ball half court. He's getting the ball in the post. Instantly, someone's coming off his weak side and tipping the ball away from him,
Mhm.
or Caruso's fronting him and tipping the pass inside. Like
Yeah.
they couldn't get him the ball. It's a perfectly executed defensive game plan from OKC and
Mhm.
just Caruso, man. Like you
Yeah.
said before the playoffs even started, he's the X factor for the team. We kind of talked about, or at least I was saying that I think
Mhm.
he could get played off the floor if he continues to shoot poorly, but he's shot perfectly fine. He's been the best defender on the floor pretty much every game he's been in. He's been
He's been a big
completely
guy to
the
like
X factor for them.
yeah, and has it been a huge part for them to kind of like take it like to chill out a second when when they start to let the other team come back and stuff. They bring back in Caruso and he kind of just like gives them a breath to just everybody can calm down for a second. He can kind of set the pace and not necessarily lead the offense because that's still Shea's job, but Caruso's just kind of a general leader like where he could just can kind of coach them on the court, just get them through those situations where they would allow a run. I do
Because
want
he's
to
the oldest guy on the team, so
Yeah, he's 30 years
it kind of
old.
just comes with the experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, he's the only champion on the team as well.
Mm.
Soon not to be the case though. I do want to say if the Thunder don't win it all this season, I don't. This is their best chance to ever win it all. Like,
Oh, 100%.
yeah, like with the Celtics and Cavs going down, I don't. I think the Timberwolves are a very good team. That like can't be overlooked. But I do have us winning relatively easy. Like I would be shocked if this goes 7. Shocked if it goes 7. I just don't think that they pose the same worries that like even Jokic alone does. I do want to say about J Dub though. Um, I wrote this in my notes after Game 6. So he had 16 through 6 games because obviously Game 7 changes a bit. Um, 16 points per game on 33 field goal percentage, and excluding Game 2, or not Game 2, was it? Shoot, was it Game 1 where he had like 30 points and we ended up losing? Right, or was
Game
it Game
three,
Three?
he
Game
had
Three, yeah, Game
game
Three.
three, he had 32 and
Yeah,
they
Game 1
lost.
he was bad. So it was Game 3. Excluding Game 3, he had 13 points per game on 28 field goal percentage. That is just he had a really rough series, no doubt about it. He was not shooting well.
Mhm.
Um, his defense was very good, I will say. So he at no point was he ever really played off the court because of how consistently good his defense was. And that was never the worry. I mean, he's likely to make an all defensive team this season. But it's just his shot was rough this series. I don't know. I heard he has some sort of wrist injury, so that's why he was airballing a lot of his threes. Um, Hopefully this 2-day rest, which is ridiculous. We can also get into that. How Adam Silver clearly hates the Thunder, giving us an every other day series against the Nuggets, and then even though the Pacers finished their series before the Timberwolves and the Knicks finished their series before the Thunder, we start our series, the Western Conference Finals, before the Eastern Conference Finals. That is stupid. Um,
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Um, A few other stats I have here. In Game 6, Shea and J-Dub had 16 assists. None of them were to each other. OKC, this is all through the 6 games. OKC had forced 33 more turnovers in this series. Denver shot 19 more free throws. Uh, and then I got these stats from Zach Lowe podcast. I thought they were really interesting, so I wanted to bring them up here. Jokic, shots from Jokic or one pass like after Jokic, like Jokic passes it and then the guy shoots it, was a .87 points per possession, which is very bad. And then overall for the Nuggets was .825, just awful. The Thunder defense is insane. And then the three worst 3-point shooters this series were Shea, Chet, and J Dub at 26, 25, and 21%, respectively. I don't know. So just a handful of interesting stats that I found out from the series so far. But yeah, the Thunder defense was just the real catalyst for the series. They just so great, like consistently such great hands, getting turnovers all day, every day, and that continued in Game 7. Obviously, that's like you said, they went on that run when they went out of the game, and then just Avalanche just steamrolled them the rest of the game. And that's kind of the mantra for this team. They get out running with the turnovers, and once they do, you can't really slow them down.
Um, yeah, I mean the Thunder defense was just as advertised. They're coming in against one of the 5 best offenses in the league in terms of scoring, and completely shut them down. We had multiple games where teams were scoring under 110, sometimes under 100 points. Um, And I thought the Nuggets defense was actually surprisingly good this series as well.
I
That
agree.
zone that they were in was really effective throughout the series. The Thunder kind of just had a poor shooting series, and it looked like it was going to be another poor shooting game in Game 7
Yeah,
because they came out and just could not hit a shot for probably the
neither
first
team
quarter
could.
and a half. Yeah, and that's how a lot of this series felt like. That's how a lot of these series overall it felt like. It just feels like shots just aren't going in. Even good looks aren't going in. And at this point in the season, everyone's kind of fatigued, and there's a lot of injuries that go unreported. Like you were saying with J Dub, he has a wrist thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. Um, there's these kind of minor injuries that
Yeah,
players go
everybody
through,
has
which
a
kind
risk
of
of
drop the
being hurt.
percentages as well. But yeah, the Thunder defense, can't say it enough. Just as advertised, best in the league, one of the best of all time. Um, I'm interested to see next series what happens because Anthony Edwards has played pretty poorly against them this season. He shot really bad,
Yeah,
very turnover prone,
we have we
and
have
this
we just
this
have the
defense is
defenders.
just like a
Sorry, go
pack
ahead.
of dogs when someone has the ball in their hands. It's just impossible to.
That's a good way to put it.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
That explains the J Dub barking thing, maybe. Um, but yeah, I just that's a part of the reason why I'm not too worried about the Timberwolves next round is because Anthony Edwards has not played very well against us. Anthony Edwards is one of the biggest game like playoff risers, like big game riser type guys. So I don't doubt that he will at least have. Let's say it's a 6 game series. I don't doubt that at least 3 of those games he'll be good to great. Um, because otherwise they have no chance. If he's bad in the series, it'll be a sweep. Like it'll be over so fast. Because Julius Randle is not good enough to backpack this team. Although he's been awesome in this playoffs, like he's been one of the most surprising players. Honestly, one of the best players in the playoffs. He's not good enough to carry this team, especially with the lackluster other outside. They don't have other like elite offensive players on this team. They just have solid role players, good shooters, whatever it is. So Anthony Edwards really has to be great in this series, similar to how Jokic was. And you were saying about the zone. The Nuggets zone was just fantastic in this series. The Thunder, through 7 games, even in Game 7, could not figure it out at all. They really were so confused by it. And so, what I was thinking about earlier is that going into a Timberwolves series, Jokic surprisingly was not awful on defense
He
throughout
was
the
actually
entire
pretty good
series.
defensively
Yeah,
this series.
there were definitely times where he was letting backdoors consistently, getting dunked on, whatever, like letting layups at the rim, whatever. But J Dub was consistently shooting or finishing at the rim poorly, and Jokic was contesting those. But and it was helpful because Jokic could just sit back in that zone consistently. But I think if the Timberwolves see the series and they're going to try to copy that zone, which I would expect they do at least somewhat, Rudy Gobert is so much better of an interior defender than Jokic is that does worry me for next series inside the paint finishing area because he's going to contest those shots, block those shots much better than Jokic
Yeah, Rudy Gobert is going to be pretty important player this series. The Thunder are a lot bigger than the last two teams he's faced off with this playoffs. So he won't probably be doing very much offensively at all in this series, I'll imagine.
Yeah, not at all.
Uh, but it'll be interesting to see because a lot of what the Thunder have been doing so far has been funneling through the paint because their shots haven't really been falling. That gets 100 times harder against Rudy Gobert. Um,
Yeah, I
what was
think
I going to say?
I can pick up from there that I think um, like I said, Rudy Gobert's defense is going to be huge. Jaden McDaniels, how well he does on Shea will be interesting. He's consistently been a pretty solid Shea defender. Him and Shea's cousin, Nikhil Alexander Walker. That'll be a fun family matchup there too. I just don't think that they'll have the offensive firepower to match up with the Thunder outside of a 5-3 game from Dante DiVincenzo or Naz Reid has 25 or something. I don't think that they're going to be able to match game by game consistently. And I also think that the Thunder, like you said earlier, their 3-point shot was just not falling at all this series. I would be shocked if that continues on to next series. We've been one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the league for years now. So we had an off series, and a lot of the looks were open. A lot of times they were hesitant to take the shots. Like it was a lot of weird shots from the Thunder this series where they weren't really playing like themselves fully, and so I kind of think that'll start to come full circle again, and they'll get back into gear going into next series.
You know who I'm interested to see if he plays this series at all, because I think he played Shea really well in the regular season, is Jalen Clark in Minnesota. He's kind of a deep bench guy. He's someone who you don't really expect to play, but I forget which game it was where they played the Thunder in the regular season. It was a
I
primetime game,
I
and
remember
he
I
played
remember I remember
insane.
which game though.
He was really good guarding Shea, which is he was drafted out of UCLA for that reason. He's a
Mm-hmm.
fantastic perimeter defender, but
To be
he's
this
kind of
game
like a
today.
spark plug guy. Yeah. And there's no one on the Timberwolves or in the league really who I think is going to be able to stay in front of Shea. It's kind of more about slowing him down, but I'll be interested to see if like Shea is just getting his game off against McDaniels for the first couple of games. If Finch decides to go and throw Clark in there for a couple possessions and see what he can do, because he was really able to kind of muddy up the game against them when they matched up earlier in the season. So that'll be interesting to see. Like you were saying with Randall, if Anthony Edwards is having a poor series, even though I think Randall will be fine this series based on what we've seen from him so far this playoffs, he's
Mm-hmm.
obviously not enough to carry your team against a
No.
team this good at this point. Um, but like you said, it's going to come down to offense. The Timberwolves are one of the better shooting teams in the league as well. But
But
as we've
they
seen this
have been,
playoffs, they
yeah, they
get
have been.
very streaky.
Yep.
Uh, and against a team like the Thunder, especially in a series where you're coming in as the worst team, you can't have streakiness from the 3-point line.
Not
It's
at all.
probably
Yeah,
an instant.
they could afford that versus the Lakers, who were playing their starting five 48 minutes, or the Warriors without Steph, which actually they couldn't even afford that because they lost game one. But you know, against the Thunder, if you have a bad shooting game, you the only way you're gonna win is if like Shea fouls out, which he doesn't, or something happens that is shocking. Uh, I just I don't see the Timberwolves having all the answers that the Thunder are going to have for them. Um, do you think that the Thunder are going to run the double big versus the Timberwolves?
I don't see why they'd go away from it. Um, it's worked so well for them so far, and they're going to need it for rebounding, which they've already like. It hasn't really been that good rebounding so far, especially in the Nuggets series. It was just like pissing me off how many offensive rebounds that they were allowing.
Yeah.
Um,
There was one against in this game in the first quarter. MPJ, there's five Thunder in the paint, five, all five, and MPJ comes in after the ball was shot and just like walks right past all of them and picks up the board. And I think he got the putback. I don't fully remember, but like that play, I was just instantly like, what are we doing? You know. I do
This
want.
this is
Yeah,
the this is the other thing about the Timberwolves, that Jokic is a much better rebounder than Gobert is. Gobert is kind of hyped up as this insane rebounder. It kind of feels like he's playing volleyball every single time that he's going for a rebound. He never like
yeah.
secures the ball, and
He
it
does a lot of
really
like
angers
tipping
me.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, he tips it or he'll slap it, and
Yeah.
he like just grab the ball. And he has huge hands, so he doesn't even really need both to secure the ball. He never uses both. He'll just go up with one arm and try to tip it to somebody or slap the ball away from somebody, and it
Yeah.
causes so many extra opportunities for an offense. And the Thunder are just not a team that you want to just keep feeding second chances to, because
Yeah.
they're just
Shots
too
will
good.
fall.
Yeah,
Um, I do want to say I should have said this earlier on in the episode. I want to get my apologies to Case and Wallace because I did say in the first round that he was going to be probably the player that fell out of the rotation, and
he's amazing.
it's been anything but that. I would not be surprised if he's a starter next season for us, honestly, because he has just been fantastic this series and really this playoffs. His 3 point shot has been I don't have all of his stats and percentages and stuff, but his 3 point shot has been pretty solid this season or this postseason. His defense has been amazing. And then, I mean, obviously in this game, you saw the poster on Jokic, left hand.
I
You know,
missed it, bro.
you didn't.
I
Oh
was in
my
the
god,
bathroom when he posted
that is
Jokic.
brutal. That play, oh, I screamed when that happened. Oh, what a FaceTime call for Jokic there, man. That was brutal. I guess we don't have to cover the series for too much longer. We've already done like 20 plus minutes on it, but a few last things from Game Seven. And I do want to say that Dagnall has been changing his subs a lot this series. At one point,
Mm,
Caruso came off the bench for the first time with like a minute left in the first, and then in the next game he came off the bench with like 8 minutes left in the first. This game, Casey Wallace was the first sub. Uh, all right, so the few notes that I have here that I wanted to bring up. I mean, so Aaron Gordon, we haven't even mentioned it with the hamstring injury. He was huge in this game. He almost had a double double. He had I think
amazing
11 or
first half.
12 boards, and like they were just letting him get board after board after board. You could clearly see he could not like jump off the floor. At one point, he tried
Barely
to go up
run
for like a
too.
yes. At one point, he tried to like go up for a dunk on Chet, and he like got like 3 inches off the ground, and just you could see his like whole body fail. It's pretty shocking that he played in this game. It almost feels like medical malpractice. Um, like a grade two hamstring strain is just crazy. What would
You're
they?
supposed to be out for a couple of weeks with that, aren't you?
Sham said a month. Dude,
Yeah,
what would happen if they win today and then they play Tuesday? Is he playing on Tuesday? Is he playing on Thursday and
absolutely not.
Saturday?
Absolutely not.
But so if you're saying
Don't think so.
no, yeah, like I feel like it's a no as well. But like then why is he playing a game? I guess to get you the win, but like it's I don't know. It felt very strange.
It was definitely to get them the win, and I guarantee you he was like, unless I'm completely unable to play, I'm playing. So if any of it was left up to him, it was going to be his choice to play. Because even Adelman said, I think a couple hours before the game, it's not looking good, or he said something like, "It's not looking good," or "I don't think he's going to play." And then he's out there warming up to play right before the
Yeah,
game. So yeah, you could clearly tell though he couldn't, like, he had zero explosiveness in his sprint. The Thunder were guarding him right up in his face with no fear of getting blown by. You saw right at the start of the second half, Shea was like all up in his grill and drew a
yeah,
flagrant foul, which you could kind of just tell at that point Gordon was pissed off. He was kind of angry that he couldn't do as much as he needed to for his team. But he was still fantastic in the first half. Like, I still think he
oh
was their
yeah,
second best player in the first half,
for sure.
which
He could
has more to say about how bad the Nuggets roster played today. But he was like making a genuine impact in the first half. But eventually, like, the injuries just, because the more you play on a hamstring injury, the worse it gets. So you kind of saw his impact wear off throughout the game,
yeah the third
and
quarter
that's to be expected.
that third quarter when he was going up and down the court, you could see literally possession by possession, it was getting worse and worse and worse. He was starting to do like a little
Hmm.
like extra hop in his step, where he was starting to limp a little more. He was like gassed by the time he got to the other end. I'm just hoping that there's no extra damage that he got from his hamstring in this game because, obviously it was like pointless that he played in the end. He ended up losing by 30 plus, and so he should have never played today. If we're like he should not have played. I
Yeah,
really like if it comes
I agree
out,
with that.
like, oh, it's a grade 4 hamstring strain now or something. Like that would suck so much. This is actual career altering potential on the line here, and it kind of felt like the Nuggets were just kind of playing with that. I'm sure he gave the green light and wanted to play and all that, but at the end of the day, like it's up to the trainers, and I feel like they probably should have said no, but whatever. Hopefully he can be all good in a month or so. The last two
Yeah, a
things I want to
grade
say.
two.
Oh, yep. Go on.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. The last two things I want to say about this game, and then you could get into more about the hamstring. Uh, from 1 minute left in the first to 11 minutes left in the third, the Thunder outscored the Nuggets 50-20. And then the turnovers in this game, the Thunder had four. OKC had, or the Denver had 16, and then Denver got 2 points off those turnovers. OKC got 6 or 20. So like that was a huge thing in this game. I mean, we kind of mentioned it earlier with getting the steals and Caruso consistently getting layups over and over and over. I think there were like 2 possessions or 3 possessions in a row where he got a steal or the layup on the other end. Um, that's just always the season how they've been capitalizing and winning games. And this finally this game was that game. They finally got to really play like they did in the regular season, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and like I was saying with this hamstring, a grade two is only like one away from full blown rupture of the muscle. Like
Yeah,
I don't know, it
you're
is a little
really
insane that
teetering
he
the line
played
there.
today. Yeah, and it's really is insane that he played today. Um, I respect him for wanting to go out there and
Oh,
play, but at the
100%,
same time,
100%.
like you have to value the future more. Especially he's 29, 30. Like he's still got plenty of years
Yeah,
ahead of him,
he's in his prime
and
right
he's going to
now. Like,
be
yeah,
yeah,
he's
he's going to be
he's
a
in
key
his
piece for them going forward as well, depending on what they decide to add this offseason, whether it's trying to trade for KD, going and getting a better bench, whatever they decide to do. It'll
yeah.
be he's going to be one of the most important pieces of the team moving forward to win a championship. So hopefully he ends up being all right.
So we can also I want to very like lightly cover the outlook of the off season for the teams that lost. So the Nuggets off season, what do you think happens? I feel like the main pressing question is MPJ gone?
You know, MPJ, I think, is going to get a lot of flack for this series, and I respect him for going out there and playing, but like he was so bad, and you could tell the shoulder was making things so hard for him
Mm,
that he played a lot worse than he would have if he had two functioning arms. But
for sure.
even then, he's kind of just been on a downward trajectory since they won the championship. He used to be a guy, I think I said this last podcast, where he like struck fear into me if he caught the ball with like even a little bit of space to shoot, because
Mm.
it just felt like his jumper was automatic a
He
couple
was a
years
point
ago.
blank shooter for years.
Yeah, and it just feels like he's not really the same player. I haven't paid too much attention to it, so I don't really know what's changed or why it's changed. But I would like to see him go. And like I was just saying with KD, that's a nice idea that I've seen thrown out there a lot. I really think the Nuggets would be a much better contender rather than going to get another star next to Jokic. You have to build a bench because their
It's
bench got
Yes, dude.
slaughtered by Oklahoma City today. The moment Jokic or Murray, either one of them comes out of the game, especially Jokic, and when you
Mm.
take both of them out, you have no chance of sticking with any of the contenders in the league. You need to have a better backup center than DeAndre Jordan,
Well,
which you probably will have next
they
season
they,
with
they were
Holmes.
yeah, they were
Hopefully
supposed to
he
have this season, man. Dayron Holmes was like my favorite
yeah,
rookie last year. I was so
I
so
loved
so
him.
high on him. Yeah, I
Mhm.
wanted the Thunder to get him. So I probably have 5 tweets like this about him. And then when he went to the Nuggets, I think I tweeted out once or twice saying like how awesome of a fit that was. How Jokic finally got that good backup center. Because I really think, I mean, we'll see how he comes off that knee tear. That could really
Was it a knee or an Achilles?
I don't fully remember if it was an ACL or an
I
Achilles.
look at that. It was an Achilles.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think it
that
was an Achilles.
sucks.
Is he
He's
coming back
young
for
though, so he
another
should be
Achilles injury?
fine.
That's pretty crazy. There were so many this year. I connect. This is like
Mhm.
NFL level Achilles tears. Um, but yeah, it's hopefully he can play well because I really thought that his outlook of his at least potential wise was super high. Um,
Yeah,
and that's exactly the type of center
100%.
they needed. Like they needed that rebounding, bruising kind of guy. Um, and so if he can be that or if it's somebody else, I don't know. I think MPJ totally has to be traded. And they're probably going to lose Russ this offseason, I would imagine, unless he
Oh,
comes back a
hopefully,
little bit.
dude.
But like, yeah, you kind of hope that he does. Um, yeah, like you were saying, their bench was just not very good this postseason.
Terrible.
They're playing their starters such an obscene amount of minutes, and I guess Peyton Watson wasn't horrible this series for the most part. Like his defense was
All right.
decent at times, and he would sometimes knock down a three here and there. But like that was their maybe sixth best player, and like that's not functioning
Yeah,
at
it's
all.
just not good enough.
They had like eight playable players, and you could even argue that. So yeah, this is just it wasn't good.
Um,
Anything else from the Nuggets or Nuggets Thunder?
yeah, I like Watson, Strother, and Holmes kind of being a little bit of a bench core going forwards, but you need more than that
You need a guard.
because none of those guys. Yeah, you need a backup guard, and it cannot be Russell Westbrook. I
Mhm.
think they can definitely
Jalen
Westbrook and
Pickett
Porter
maybe.
have to be gone. Have to be gone if you want
Yeah.
to be more serious contender moving forwards. Westbrook is just too much of like a. I saw him get compared to a Mario like
Oh.
item box.
Oh.
Like
Yeah.
you have no idea what you're going to get out of him every single game.
That's funny. Yeah.
Um, I don't know who. Like I don't really know much about who's available or what the free agents look like this offseason, but they
I
just removed their general manager because he's not really willing to go after anybody.
Yeah. It's been like a
And
few years
like
now.
hopefully, I think that will be a thing going forward, is where the Nuggets are a lot more aggressive in free agency trying to acquire people, because you have Jokic, you rarely see talents this good, and you have to try to maximize your window with him on your team. So I think we'll see them get pretty aggressive this offseason and ditch Porter and Westbrook.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly all of the names on the free agency market, but I do know like a lot of people have said now that this free agency is not that good, but the trade market, at least the rumored one of like KD and Giannis and whoever else is on the trade market, like Cam Johnson maybe, so on and so forth. That is
Yeah.
really where the money is going to be made in the offseason. Um,
And
yeah.
those are stars. Like when
Yeah.
you talk about a Giannis or a KD or like even a Devin Booker,
Hmm.
those are the guys that like I just don't think the Nuggets need something like that. They just need more depth. I think
I
they'd have a
agree.
much more like obviously,
I think a KD, like if
but
they totally need depth because if you add KD to this team, you're trading MPJ, a pick or two, and then like something else. I don't even know what that something is. Um, but like you now you're kind of in the same situation. I mean, you get a really good offensive player who, when Jamal Murray's having an off game, KD won't be, or the awful games that MPJ was having, KD won't have those. But your bench is still awful. And so you're still gonna, to a degree, maybe a lesser one, but to a degree, you're still gonna run into the same problems.
yeah, absolutely need a bench. I'm kind of going through the free agent point guards right now. Harden, no. Kyrie probably gonna
Harden's gonna resign.
opt into his player option. Giddy, no, makes no
He's
sense.
gonna sign on a 30 million Bulls deal.
Van Vliet's got a team option. I imagine they keep him around. Tyus Jones, I'm not really a huge fan of him. Um,
Tyus Jones would
D'Lo, no.
could I mean
Like
I don't know if Tyus Jones
Tyus
could
Jones,
work
I
on
know
this
he
team.
has this reputation as like this amazing backup point guard. I've never really been that high on him. I know he has that like insane assist to turnover ratio. He protects the ball, but he's not like, I don't know. He's just a pretty average
Help the
player in my
Suns a lot
opinion.
this year.
I think the trade market will be the best spot for them to find a point guard, because I mean you get to the sixth best point guard in free agency this year, and it's D'Angelo Russell, who you're going to have to pay a lot more than he's worth.
Yeah, you're right.
And I just don't like how the free agent market looks. But
I agree. But we'll move on here to the next round, or sorry, the next series rather. Let's talk. I've got Pacers Cavs in my notes next, so we could go to that next. Uh, that series ended honestly a lot faster than everybody was expecting. I think basically everyone had the Cavs winning that series. I did say for a
yeah,
lot that the Pacers could win it, and I wouldn't be shocked. But the way that they won it, I was pretty shocked by, especially in 5 games. Even with the injuries, like shocking, man.
unacceptable
Yeah,
from Cleveland, dude. It was just bad.
getting blown out on your home court in Game 5, win or go home. Ridiculous. What are we doing? Like Your
bad.
team is healthy. Evan Mobley was back. DeAndre Hunter was back. Garland. I don't care if you're missing a toe. You played so bad. Like it felt like they didn't have like the I don't know what the like the word like they just didn't necessarily like realize that the game or like a win or go home situation. It didn't feel like they had that like intensity and necessity to win.
You know what was hilarious? I saw this is hilarious about the series. Do you see the report about Max Struess messaging the team group chat? Like,
Yeah,
if you're not gonna give it your all tomorrow, don't show up. And then he
yeah,
shoots
yeah,
0 for 9. You shoot 0
yeah.
for 9 after sending that in the team group chat. Like,
I hope they
dude,
kicked
come
him out
on.
of the group
And
chat,
then
dude. I would have laughed at the message
they're like, yeah,
afterwards.
you're so traded. Ty Jerome was
Oh
this
my,
hurts my
oh
soul.
my.
Ty Jerome was horrible.
How much
Got
money?
damn
Wait,
near
wait.
played off the
Let's
court.
talk about this. How much money did he lose himself this offseason?
Dude, I still think he's a really good player.
I don't
But
disagree, but
he's
like
like probably
he
got
lost
a
money.
couple, probably a dozen millions off
Yeah,
of his contract. He had a really good. I think it was game one or was it game two? I think it was game one. No, it was definitely game one. Game two, he was
yeah. It was
horrible.
game one.
Game
He was bad
one,
literally the rest of
he
the
had a
series.
pretty good game.
Mhm.
Um, but like games two and three, what do you shoot? 2 for 22 from the field and 0 for
Yeah,
8. He shot my birthday from the field. That's horrible. And then
poor dude.
Strus, like we said, was terrible in game five. Donovan Mitchell, man, couldn't find his jumper, but like just left everything on the court. You could see at the end of game five, it was like he was the only one out there trying. He was just
Mhm.
exhausted at the end of game five. And he averaged what, like high 30s this series?
But even in that game five, he didn't.
Or
He didn't like. He wasn't that good. He felt like he had that.
just missed he just missed a lot of shots.
Yeah, I guess that's mainly what it was. I do want to go back to that Ty Jerome thing. In my game four notes,
Mhm.
I have here after this is after the game. Ty Jerome so far in that series, which they only played one more game afterwards. He was 12 for 45 for on field goals and 10 for 32 on twos. On twos, that is insane. Shooting under 33% on twos. I could do that. Like, like sign me to a
Just
deal.
it's
Crazy.
so bad. He was
Yeah.
so bad. But I don't really want to talk about how bad the Cavs were because the Pacers were just
Yeah, that's really what I want to talk
fantastic
about.
this series.
Fantastic.
Tyrese Halliburton, just the best pace pusher in the entire NBA.
Yeah.
Pacers are just out and going every single
Pace.
possession. It's like um, and he's like it's like a modernized version of Steve Nash. It's
A
just
little bit.
they're out every single play, and he's kind of like the engine that makes the whole thing go. His stats don't really do him any justice for the impact he has offensively on the game. He's
Yeah.
been fantastic in all the clutch moments,
He'll
finds
finish
the
a
open guy whenever he needs to. It's just he's amazing.
he'll finish a game with like 20 and 10 or something. But it really feels like his impact felt like it would be like 35 and 20 at times. It's like what because even if he's not getting the assist, he's getting the like the hockey assist, or he's like just passing to the open man who's then like his passing and really this just whole offense, this whole team, their whole thing, they just keep passing the ball over and over and over again. It's almost like a college team or like a high school team where like the coach is just like just keep passing and you'll find the open man eventually. It's kind of what the Celtics did a bit last year. And this Pacers team, they did it last year too, and like this year just felt like they even got better at it with an extra year. Last year Siakam was only there for half a season, and then this year they just felt even more comfortable with each other. They just like their passing is awesome. Their defense was consistently really good. Their 3 point shooting was fantastic in this series. Nemhard was shooting well.
Yeah, just
Uh,
never really cooled down at all.
yeah, Nemhard was shooting well. Miles Turner was shooting well. Siakam, Halliburton, Neesmith had like four threes at one point. He had like in one quarter or something like that in one of these games. They were huge. They just consistently. Obi Toppin shot well. Like just everybody was shooting well. Go on.
By the way, underrated shout for best playoff riser in the league is Andrew Nemhard. I
Yes.
like you would never even guess in a million years that this guy was a 29% three-point shooter in the regular season because every single time he
Yeah,
shoots, I think it's going in. I
that's
checked that
crazy.
stat in the first round. I was like, wow, Nemhard is like he's so good every single playoffs, or not every. He's only the last two playoffs really, but um, I was like,
It's
he's
big enough
so good
sample
these last two
size.
playoffs. Like, how good of a season did he have this year? Because I didn't really watch the Pacers too much in the regular season, and I check. I'm like, I'd like rub my eyes. I was like, 29% from three?
It's
What?
not.
Like, what is this? What? And, he's shooting like 2 for 4, 3 for 5. He had a game where he goes 5 for 6 from three. It's just, he's so good and he's a great finisher. He's their point of attack defender. He's going to have a huge assignment coming up at this next series with Brunson that he did a pretty good job with last year in the playoffs, which is
Yeah,
something we'll get to. But I love Andrew Nemhard, man. He's one of my favorite players
yeah.
the entire
Since
league and probably the biggest playoff riser in the league.
yeah, he's. I saw it. Well, I would say it's. I mean, the biggest playoff risers is still even with this like up and down series. It's still probably Jamal Murray. Jokic is up there. Jalen Brunson's up there. But
Mm.
Nemhard, honestly, like all those guys I named are outside of Jamal Murray, but he's like an all star level type player, and the other two are like all NBA MVP level players. Nemhard, like
Well,
if you want to argue like the the importance to the team that they are to like regular season wise to the level that they rise in the playoffs, he probably is the biggest playoff riser because he goes from like role player to
yeah.
actual like star player at times.
As for Murray, this is completely off topic. I don't really think he's very much of a playoff riser. He has big game moments, and I think he used to be a playoff riser for sure. But I think in his current state, he is not really that much of a playoff riser. He kind of just keeps the pace with the regular season. When I say riser, I mean like think of it like the most improved award, honestly, where player goes from certain amount of performance just so much better
Yeah.
less than it is like Brunson's obviously amazing in the playoffs, but it's kind of just the same level that he's playing at in the regular season, if not a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But Nemhard, like you said, goes from this just like normal role player to like
Yeah,
I don't like he's obviously not a star, but like he's just this fantastic
yeah.
player who's
At
really good for
times
you on both
he'll
ends.
have quarters where like he's almost the best player on the court. Like he'll hit
Yeah,
four threes in a quarter, or
that
four
happened.
threes, or like 35
Mhm.
foot threes, and he's defending, picking up on the other like
Ridiculous.
at half court. He's like, his defense is awesome, and his shot making is at times equally as awesome, if not even better than his defense. He's
Mhm.
he's like a secret weapon almost at times for this Pacers team.
There's one other thing I want to point out. I was really surprised because going into the playoffs, you had this series going seven as well as I did.
Yeah,
Um,
and then I ended up yeah I was like
and then it just felt like you were a lot lower on the Pacers coming into the series. Scott, I understood because he's a Cavs fan,
yeah
so
honestly
he's like
like
been more focused on the Cavs all year. But I was like,
yeah
why coming into this series were you so much lower on the
um
Pacers than you were coming into the playoffs? Because they've
so
played really well round one as well.
okay so a few like I have like three different reasons here. So the first two are kind of together. So I watched King of the Fourth Quarter had his podcast. He mentioned this where he said this season, and especially this postseason, he hasn't really been watching other podcasts much because he feels like they kind of like change his opinion, and he kind of like
Mhm.
starts to form their opinions as his own, and that's kind of what I like the last like since I've started posting more, I've definitely started watching more podcasts, and I feel like my opinions are starting to like I'm starting to gain their opinions and bring them into my own, and so that definitely had an effect on it. Um, but also that Heat series, like that can't go unsaid about how bad the Cavs slaughtered the Heat. No matter if like no matter what you say about the Heat didn't deserve to be in the playoffs or whatever. I get that they were a 37 win team, but like that was the biggest beatdown in a playoff series history. We've never seen anything like that where they just slaughtered them game after game, and so that really, I felt like they were going to bring the momentum into the Pacers series. I felt like personnel wise, like at least on paper, player to player, they were just a better team. I mean, I think the injuries definitely played a big part in this because they missed a whole game out of it, but they ended up losing. But it's the Pacers just outplayed them. I was so high on the Pacers all season long. I really should have kept that, and I do regret that, for sure, no doubt about it. But I still stand by, like, I would have had the Cavs winning the series no matter what. Maybe I would have had probably
I agree.
6 or 7 then instead of, I think I said like 5 or 6, which that was dumb. That was like super stupid. I predicted way too many of the series going lower than they should have. But also at the same time, it feels like these series this season have been way more competitive than normal. So I will say that. But yeah, I was just too low on the Pacers for that pod. Like literally, if you asked me 2 days earlier, I probably would have said Cavs in 7 or something. But yeah, that you know that was a mistake on my part. So be it. I'm looking at my notes from Game 5. I literally have in my notes, Strus is a terrorist.
Yeah, no, he was a terrorist that game. He was terrible.
Yeah, and yeah, Nemhard had 2 big fourth quarter threes.
Yeah.
Halliburton, like I do want to talk about him a little more. Like he was like commanding this offense very well, but then he was also driving the ball super well. His 3 point shot was landing consistently. Obviously, he had the 2 fourth quarter game winners back to back against them. They controlled the inbounds on that one game, which that's another thing I want to say for the going back to that Thunder series. The Thunder did not let them inbound in so many different scenarios. There were like 3 times or 4 times in this series where we stole an inbound or made them get a 5 second penalty or whatever. And so similar stuff kind of in this series. The Pacers just kind of overwhelmed them a lot of times. It felt like the Cavs
Especially
were
at the end of game 2.
yeah. It just the Pacers were just the better team, and I'll spoil it now. I don't think that the Knicks are much of a problem for them at all. I know last year I went to 7, but I don't know if I have it going 7 this year. Like I'm just super high on this Pacers team, and I have been all season, and I know I said like that was just a mistake on my part. But I'm going back to my Pacers fandom now. Halliburton is my third
I'm
favorite player in the league. I'm claiming the Pacers again. I do apologize to all the Pacers fans that will watch this, all thousands and thousands.
um, I'm also very high on the Pacers. I'm just a huge fan of the way they play.
Yeah,
A
same.
team that I am done sleeping on is the New York Knicks. I will not any longer. We'll get to the Pacers Knicks series, but
Mm.
um, I will not sleep on that team any longer. They played so well in this Celtics series, and at every corner I was like, at some point the Celtics are going to win this series. At some point they're going to start winning games, and obviously after Tatum went down, that was impossible. But
Yeah.
I don't. I think if Tatum stayed healthy, they still would have lost. Like it
Oh,
wouldn't
I
have
thought you were
mattered. The
gonna say they were
Knicks
gonna win.
just
Yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah.
Tatum stayed healthy, they still would have lost.
After 2 games,
The Celtics would have lost, but
which so after I say this, we can get into Cavs off season because I feel like we covered the Pacers. Like there were 2 games. We covered the first 3, and then last episode, and there was only 2 games, and the Cavs won one of them, which like or no, I think. All right, now like I really should have wrote down all the game winners here. I just wrote like the game 3 like Pacers Cavs 2-0. Like I didn't write the final scores. I think did Cavs win game 3 or game 4? I don't remember.
they won game 3.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, the last two
They
it should be
dominated in game. That was the James
yeah,
Johnson game.
yeah. 100%. Yeah, so the last two, it just like I do feel bad not talking that much about it, but there's not really that much to say. The Pacers just kind of like cooked them a lot,
Pacers stampeded them in game 4, dude.
dude.
I was
Yeah,
because
I
we
really
talked about at the end of the last podcast how we thought this was going to be like some physical, like hard fought game, and the Cavs just got blown off the floor. It wasn't even
mhm,
close. It was like 80-39 at halftime.
yeah. I was watching
That's
that game with
just
a whole bunch of
pathetic, dude.
friends, and like I just like left and went and watched it alone because I was like I don't even like what are like what are we like this game's not even an event anymore. Um,
That's
but
just
yeah,
bad. It's
uh,
pathetic.
I'll get into the next thing I was gonna say a little bit later. So yeah, big win for the Pacers, 4-1 series win. Which yeah, man, that's just so crazy. If you asked me before, like everybody had Cavs Celtics Eastern Conference Finals, and so it's just so
Which I think
like
it
I
had to be Cavs Celtics. Like it
it
just
had
made no
yeah,
sense anything else.
100%. I mean, the Cavs had one of the best regular seasons ever. The Celtics, last year's champion. It's crazy. And I saw some stat. I didn't wait. I had so many tweets bookmarked for this podcast. Let me see if I have it here. Yeah, here it is. Last reigning champ to even make it past the second round was the 2019 Warriors. Or
Yeah.
2018 they made it to the finals.
7 years, 7 different champions, no matter what happens this
So
year.
so so crazy that I mean like I just n- like you said, if Tatum doesn't get hurt, I don't think it matters. I just it's so wild that the Celtics couldn't even make it past the second round, and this is just the parity in this league right now is like we've never seen before. It's the most different champions in a row that we've ever had, and that's just another reason why this is the best basketball that's ever being played because you can't like there's nothing like this. You can't predict Pacers in five. Nobody, not even the biggest. Tyrese Halliburton didn't have Pacers in five. Like it's this is just
You
awesome.
know, and you know who we have to give credit to the parity in the league right now? Blazers legend CJ McCollum,
So true.
keeping everything in order. No more super teams under CJ's reign as the what's it, the CBA president.
Yeah, he lost to the Warriors
But
too many times. He wasn't having it anymore.
yeah, but it's just lost to the Warriors so many times. CJ was like, I'm taking this into my own hands. We're done with this. But did you want to talk about the Cavs offseason?
Yes. Oh wait, before that, I do want to say one last thing. On this day, it is May 18th, 2025. May 18th, 2024. The Thunder lost in Game 6 to the Mavericks. And ended our series and ended our season. So it's very cool that today, a year later, we win in Game 7 and move past the second round. And 9 years ago, we made it to our most recent conference finals, and then obviously we blow a 3-1 lead to the greatest team ever. And Kevin Durant leaves us. Yippee! Hopefully, Shea doesn't leave us for the Timberwolves. I guess. Anyways,
The most auraful backcourt in the history of
yeah, right.
basketball.
Anthony Edwards can come to the O. How about that? All right, but we can get the Cavs off season. I don't really know what they do. I don't know how much they will change about this team. Honestly, I think if they do a trade, you're looking at Jared Allen.
I agree. I think you run with Mobley as the center going forward. At
Mm-hmm.
some point, this roster that you've put together, this core four that they kind of have, it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, we've seen it for what,
I,
like
I think
four
that's
years now,
something
3 years now. It's just it's been too long that like they've gone first round exit, second round exit, second round. I mean, Donovan Mitchell has never made it past the second round in his entire career, and he's never missed the
which
playoffs,
is insane.
which I don't know how that's even
That's insane.
possible. Like, yeah, it's actually
With how
insane.
good of teams he's been on, yeah, it doesn't make any
Those
sense.
Jazz teams were
And
legit.
the Jazz team that won 60 games in, was it 2021? They're
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
top 25 teams ever in terms of net rating, and they lost to
Spreadsheet
Terrence Mann.
FC wins today.
I've been for Spreadsheet FC this
Yep.
postseason.
But
But
yeah,
as
Cavs
far
off
as the
season.
Cavs go, I don't want to overreact too much to some of the performances in the playoffs. Max
Yeah.
Strus is still a very good bench player. Ty
Mm-hmm.
Jerome is still a sixth man of the year candidate. I don't
Yeah.
think you get rid of those guys
DeAndre
just
Hunter,
because they
same
played
situation.
poorly. DeAndre Hunter as well. Got it.
Yeah.
Like you have probably
They
uh,
have this probably second or
top
third best
two
bench
bench
in
in
the
the
league.
league.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you got to keep that together. That's super important for a playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
Garland, Mitchell, don't think you do anything with them. Mobley, absolutely not. I think he's
Most
future
untouchable
MVP
player.
caliber player. Um, Jared Allen, though, I think you can lose him because one of the main issues they had against the Pacers in that series was their pick and roll coverages were terrible.
Oh my, he was
Um,
getting hunted
no
by
matter
Halliburton, dude.
yeah, no matter what they threw at them, what kind of coverages they tried to throw at them, the Pacers had a way of punishing Jared Allen in every single coverage that they went into. Um, and I just think I don't know, the Mobley Allen, the double big is like back in the NBA now, but
Mm.
I just don't think that blueprint works for the Cavs. You
Yeah,
have a great bench, you have your star backcourt. I think Mobley will end up being the best player on the team next season.
he
Um,
already is.
and I think you could argue he is already, but Mobley is the guy, and I think you can get good return for Jared Allen and kind of form the
Yeah.
team the way you want to around the core that you have now. And
Mm.
with the Celtics are screwed next season. People are saying, "Oh, Tatum back in 9 months." I think Tatum has to sit the whole year. Achilles isn't something you want to play with, and the Celtics are still a team
Absolutely.
that could get to like the play-in without him. But Jalen Brown is
I'm
gonna
if I'm gonna be honest with
miss.
you, I don't know if they make the play in. Even with how bad the East is gonna be, I think this like with especially with this Jaylen Brown played with a torn meniscus, which perfect
Yeah.
timing. He can go get that surgery and sit out a whole year. If he sits out a whole season, this team
If he
might
sits
be
out, they're screwed,
they might be the 14th
which
seed
means
in the
they
East.
get
I swear to
Boozer.
God. Yeah, and
Oh,
then
the Celtics are gonna
which
get Boozer.
yeah,
You got to be kidding me.
I tweeted out like yesterday or 2 days ago saying that like it's gonna be so funny a year from now in the lottery when the Celtics first try get like the first or second pick, and then the Jazz, the Wizards, the Hornets, the whoever else all fall to like 6, 7, 8, 9 again. Um, but yeah, I think Jared Allen. We can go back to that. I think his trade value is probably like two firsts and maybe a player. I don't really know what team
Really?
it is.
I
I
guess
did
first down worth very much.
Yeah, it depends on who the firsts is, what the protections are. Maybe it's one first. Honestly, this maybe is a weird like I don't think it'll happen because these teams won't trade with each other because they're both contenders. But Jared Allen to the Celtics makes sense to me because the Celtics are going to need a new center. Kristaps is not on that team next year. There's almost no
Ooh,
way
Kristaps, man, so
unless no
bad.
team trades for him. But I think some team will take a flyer on him, like especially like if it's depending on what how severe this illness is, how career altering it'll be, whatever. Maybe a team like it's just like I'm gonna give you an extremely protected first, and that's all you're gonna get, and like this crappy player along with it. Um, I don't know who that team is, and Jared Allen like a lot of people are saying like the Lakers or something because obviously every player gets mocked to them, and they need the center and everything. I don't know if like Jared Vanderbilt or whoever they try to give them and like one first is gonna be enough.
I'll be interested to see what his value is because he is a really good player, and Lakers would be like a dream fit
That's
in
he's
terms of play
perfect fit.
style. But
Yeah,
absolutely, he'd probably trying to think. He'd probably be the best center that Luke has ever played. He would be the best center that Luke has ever played with. Depends how highly you view Porzingis when he was there,
just
but
like Dwight Powell.
Dwight Powell, Canadian legend Dwight Powell. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, like you said, everyone gets mocked to the Lakers, so they'll probably have the best betting odds to get him. But as far as the Cavs offseason goes, I think Jared Allen being gone and trying to form maybe a little more of a starting lineup around the strengths of Mobley, Mitchell, Garland is their path forward. Like we said, the Celtics probably, or not probably, will not be a threat next year in terms of contention. The Sixers, maybe, but that's
It's
always a
Sixers
maybe
is
because Embiid
Sixers.
will
Yeah,
never be healthy.
I was thinking about that the other
And
day. You can no, finish your thought.
Pacers. It'll probably be the same guys we have in the conference finals right now. It'll be the Pacers, it'll be the Knicks, it'll be maybe the Sixers, depending on their health, and then it
Are the
will be
Pacers gonna
the
make a
Cavs.
three-time run at the Eastern Conference Finals? That'd be pretty crazy.
They're nice, man. They're nice, and it'll be interesting to see what they do this offseason as well. I don't really know what their cap situation looks like, but we've got a really good core together, and there's a lot of good players on the trade market, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I did have this thought the other day about like the East next season and the outlook of it. Depending on if Giannis stays on the Bucks and like I don't, they're a second apron team or first apron. I don't remember exactly. I think they're second apron. So
I
I
think
don't
they're
know.
second apron.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how they're gonna be able to retool, especially with Dame missing so much time. But if they can give Giannis like
He's going to be out for the
literally
year as well, probably.
probably, especially with his age, if you give him like 2 or 3 average to above average players like that, so he doesn't have to play with Kevin Porter Jr. is in his like 6 man role in
Kyle
the playoffs.
Kuzma.
Yeah, like if you can give him anything of actual like real players, this like the Bucks could like win the East next season. Like Giannis is good enough to
Oh, that's
carry it.
so nasty.
It would be for sure, but like it's possible. Also, the Sixers like could also win it all if, or at least the East, if Embiid can be healthy, which obviously that's
It would be
talking major question
nice
right now.
to see the Sixers make a run, just because I want to see Embiid get one shot. But
Yeah, he's one of
like,
the best playoff
they're
players ever.
Paul George just Embiid.
I mean, at times, not maybe not always, but like I feel like he okay. Evers is too much for sure, but like
Hello,
I think
Jim.
I think he gets I think he gets way too much hate. I know he's like a dropper because he goes from 40 points per game to 25, but like he gets way too much hate for his playoff play.
I do think he is overhated the last couple years in terms of playoff play. I do think he was a pretty nasty dropper earlier in his career. When I think of Embiid, I definitely don't think like best playoff players, but he's also never really healthy, which
Yeah,
again is an excuse, but at the same time, just kind of the reality of Embiid, which is why it's always an if with him. But uh, Paul George is terrible, so it'll be interesting to see where they go next season. But I do think, uh, you know, Maxi, Embiid, healthy McCain, they are probably one of the bigger threats to the Cavs next season. But for the Cavs, if you move off Jared Allen and you put a little more, if you make the roster a little more full, which it already really is, you got one of the best coaches. You're going to have an even better Mobley. You're going to have one of the best backcourts in the league. I think they're the clear favorite to come out of the East next year, depending on what they do this offseason.
that's pretty fair, and I think they're probably the favorite. You said the Cavs. Yeah, I would say they're probably the favorite for next season. I'm
I
obviously
think they would be.
depending on what they do. The
Yeah.
last thing I want to point out. This is again going back to the Thunder series because I had one more note that I wrote in my notes I forgot to bring up. Um, they outscored the Nuggets 64-42 in points in the paint in Game 7, and then since Game 3, I hate to shame Russell Westbrook. Since Game 3, he had a 35% true shooting. 35.
Westbrook did.
Yes, that's one of the like. That's I don't even really have words
That's
for that. It's
Yeah.
that's
Anything
unbelievable,
below
man.
league average, anything that would be below league average in the 40s
Mhm.
is so. I can't even describe that level of nasty. He was
And
probably the worst player on the floor majority of
yeah,
the time he was in the last few games. He just turns the ball over. He's a good defender because he does constant
yeah.
effort and
He
constant
sh-
motor, but
he should have gotten the block
offensively he's
on.
like one of the
He
worst
should have
players in the league.
he should have gotten the block on Chet. The foul that got called where, dude, so Chet goes up for the put back, and did you see it? Like Russell's like
Mm.
smacked him from behind. It should have been a clean foul.
Smashed the ball. I think they
Yeah,
called that because his left arm pushed Chet
yeah.
forward, but
That was weak.
with the way they were calling that game, that was a lame call.
Yeah, and then yeah, Russ. If we win it all this year, he should get a ring because he was a pivotal part in us surviving the series. So if we win it all, you cannot call him a non-championship player anymore in my
He's a double agent. He wants to
book. Yeah,
see OKC thrive.
he's true to OKC forever, no doubt about it. All right, so we'll take a quick break and then we'll go into Knicks, Celtics, and then briefly touch Warriors, Timberwolves, and then talk some Thunder. All right, back with Knicks versus Celtics. So that series ended in 6. Knicks, and we can. So we talked about the first 2 games in the first episode. I want to first off mention that Game 6 was one of the biggest win or go home blowouts I've ever seen in a non Game 7. That was insane. They just, I think they were 41 was the most, and it was the end of the third. Um, Celtics they just had no like
Yeah.
heart. It felt like they just didn't. I mean, it felt like before the game they were going to lose that game for sure because that was almost a winner go home for the Knicks as well because they did not want to go Game 7 in Boston, but like the Celtics just came out with nothing, like nothing at all.
Yeah, and I wasn't really surprised they won game 5 based on like the body language of the Knicks. And you could see Brunson was kind of just like laughing the entire game, not really taking the game
Yeah,
seriously.
he was fully trolling.
Um, like a Luke Cornett legacy game, like sure, bro, you guys can have that game. But like you lose your franchise player to an Achilles injury at the end of game 4. You're already losing that game when he has 40 points. Like even if he stays healthy, you're gonna lose that game. The Celtics like just mentally just seemed drained. And Jalen Brown, like we find out he's playing on a meniscus injury, which kind of explains like some of the poor play he's had.
Definitely.
Although he played fantastic in Game 5.
Yes. Yeah, we could get to that.
I think I just like really, really, really underrated the Knicks. They played so well. 2 games back to back in TD Garden where you are down 20, come
Yeah.
back, Mikal Bridges game winning play, and you can chalk a
Flames.
lot of it up to the Celtics just uncharacteristically awful shooting in both those games, but
Hit your
at the
shots,
same
man. Like
time, like at a point you have to make your shots. Like
yeah,
you're
like
just not as good as we thought you were. Um,
I mentioned it in the last episode saying that like Second Spectrum had them as shot quality. Like it was so obscenely, crazily different between them and the Knicks, and obviously the Knicks still won both of those games. But who cares about how open your three is or uncontested, whatever, whatever. Like if you make it or not is what matters, and they could not hit anything at all. And
yeah.
the Knicks were like that's just what it comes down to. I want to shout out because like this is one of the more interesting parts of this series, and I feel like a huge part of how the Knicks ended up winning. Deuce McBride this series, man, was so good. Last series he was basically awful against the Pistons. He could not throw a rock in the ocean. And then in this game, like he could have, I don't even know an analogy. He could have hit a three from anywhere. He was awesome. I think he was shooting 40% so far in the playoffs, but it's really because of the Pistons series. I don't know what he shot in this series. It felt like it might have been 100%. Like he just hit everything. It felt
He was shooting over 50% from three.
yeah,
He
like
shot,
he
I think,
really
or
was just
actually might have been dead
disappearing.
on 50% from three. Um, yeah, like every game, 3 for 6, 1 for 2, 2 for 3.
Mm. And they were all
Uh,
timely too. Like he was hitting consistently big shots for them, where the Celtics would start to make a run and he would answer back and then that run, or he would kick off a run for them or whatever it was. Late threes, whatever. Like he was just consistently solid.
this is a weird series. It reminded me a lot of when the Celtics played the Heat in 2023 in the Eastern Conference Finals when the Heat were the 8 seed.
Yeah,
Where you have a team that at least I was just so convinced was worse than the Celtics, and I think most people were so convinced was worse than the Celtics. Same how a lot of people thought the Heat were just so clearly worse than the Celtics in 2023. Where
yeah,
even though this team is playing better and has the lead, it always felt like this Celtics team was looming and like they were just going to start rattling off wins and get
yeah.
hot, win the series. Because I remember when they played the Heat, even when they were down 3-0, I was like, they're going to come back and win the series.
There's no way you
And they
actually
almost
believe that.
did. But I truly did believe that they were gonna come back from down 3-0 because I just could not get behind the Heat, but,
They almost did. He
in
could
both
not go in that
times,
series at all.
because even if the Celtics had lost game 4, if Tatum didn't get hurt, I would've been like, "Oh, the Celtics are just gonna come back from down 3-1," which I don't know, like, the Knicks like, in game 4 is the first time we really saw the Celtics are playing good, having a good game. Tatum is having this absolute masterclass of a game,
Mm,
and it still didn't matter. Like, the Knicks were just better, they executed better every time down the floor, they were getting better shots in game 4, they were forcing turnovers, OG Anunoby was making electric plays, Jalen
yeah,
Brunson was getting to his spots whenever he felt like it. And I don't know. It got to a point where I was like, maybe the Knicks are just better than them, and I completely slept on how good the Knicks are because they were fantastic defensively all series, and I think
mm,
that's I know the Celtics had good shot quality, but like they just couldn't get anything going offensively.
yeah. In game four, I mean, that was the game Tatum got hurt, and we can get into that in a little bit. We kind of briefly mentioned it, like talked about it a little while ago. But Tatum had 42, 8, 4, and 6 stocks with 7 threes. Like this was the Tatum game. This was honestly one of the best playoff games he's ever had in his career. He was
Hmm.
fantastic, and that the rest of this team was not. They really, I mean, Derek White had 6 threes. He was good, which it's Derek White. He's good always. But nobody else was really showing up. Kristaps wasn't good, and Jalen Brown
Oh
was
man,
like
Kristaps.
pretty not even mid. He was kind of bad this game. But Tatum really just kept them afloat, and then they started. They let up a huge run at the end, and that's why they ended up losing by like 10. It was a back and forth up until Tatum got hurt for sure. Um, it super sucks that he got hurt, man. It really like it almost. There's still a lot to talk about in this series, but it kind of just like deflates the mood and like the entire remembrance of the series because not to say like they would have came back because what I wanted to say earlier after they were up 2-0 they were still the underdog somehow, so I took them and the Timberwolves. I put like $30 on it and I won like 100 or something, which was pretty fun.
They were the underdogs up 2-0?
Yes, yes.
Damn.
Like that's crazy. When I watched those first two games, and I know that they were 20-point comebacks. The Celtics should have won, whatever, whatever. But like they didn't, and they're up 2-0. It's so hard to come back 2-0, especially when you lost both of your home games. Like I did not expect them to
Yeah.
go into MSG and win both, and they didn't because I, they're just like this Celtics team is not that like they are not good enough to do that. Not to say that they're not that good because they are a good team, but when you're missing Kristaps, that is such a huge hit on this team, especially when Jalen Brown's not playing well. Like they just they didn't have the personnel in it. Once Tatum went down, obviously that was it was over at that point. Nobody, they had zero chance to come
And, you could really kind of feel how Kristaps' like inability to play was just a huge impact for them because you could like they just looked like an 100 times better team with Cornette on the floor, which
back, which is
is
crazy.
hurts to come out of my mouth
Yeah,
because Cornette was one of my least favorite players to watch all season. I'm really wondering
wait,
what's
why?
wrong with Porzingis. I just he's just bad.
I mean, honestly,
He's bad.
he was pretty
He
like
played really
decent in the
well in game
series. Yeah,
five, but
and then game five, I mean, he was awesome. He had 7 blocks. I think he almost had a triple double with blocks, like crazy. Yeah, Missoula at one point was saying that it's hard for Kristaps to breathe, and then
yeah.
like, and then it would just keep subbing him back in over and over again, and he would continue to like labor up and down the court and like struggle to do anything on offense. He wasn't rebounding well. He couldn't shoot. Like he was just he wasn't and he couldn't defend either. Like I don't know what his situation is. I don't know what he has to do to get better. I hope that he can do it because Kristaps is a fun player. I really do like him a lot. I was like, I when he was on the Wizards, he was one of my favorite players in the league that season. He was so 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 good. I voted him as an All Star that year. I know that the Wizards sucked that season, but I really thought that he deserved it. And then when he got traded to the Celtics, like I'm sure everybody thought this, but I really was so confident that that was what was going to get them a title because of how
Yeah.
underrated he was on the Wizards. He was such a good defender, and obviously his 3-point shot was really solid as well. Um, it it just I mean it super sucks that he got hurt or that he was sick for a lot of the season and obviously largely in this series and then Tatum as well. It's super unfortunate. I don't really want to talk much more about the Celtics. I kind of want to focus more on the Knicks now because like although this was like a shocking Knicks loss or sorry Celtics loss of a series, it's also a like the Knicks are the team that's moving on. In Game 3, Brunson had 39, 5, and 12. In the third quarter, he had 18, 3, and 3. He played all 12 minutes. Like, he was just so consistently clutch. And basically, all of my notes in every single game, I just have, like, Brunson is the king of the clutch. Brunson is, like, the best fourth quarter player ever. Whatever, whatever. Like, whatever other way you can spin that is how I say it. Because he was just so consistently good every single fourth quarter. No matter, in the first two games, especially, when they were down 20 or 15, whatever, the second he steps onto the court, you know that anything can happen at this point because you know that he's going to start hitting his shots consistently every single time, and every single time he does.
Yeah. Game 4, um, you could just kind of tell when a player's starting to get into that mode and you could tell like in that fourth quarter it was Tatum and Brunson exchanging buckets down the floor, but it got to a
Mm,
point where Brunson was just like they just had nothing that they could throw at him. Tatum, kind of had a little rut in that second half where he kind of
yeah,
started taking some bad shots, missed a couple threes in a row. Brunson, I don't know what he shot in the fourth quarter. It was
in
something
Game 4,
ridiculous because yeah.
he shot 3 for 6, 1 for 1 from three, 8, 1, and 4.
What did he shoot in the third?
Uh, that's what I mentioned earlier. It was 18, 3, and 3 in all 12 minutes. Like
Yeah.
just
Um,
just huge, man. 26 in the second half.
every time, every time a big moment comes through New York, it feels like Brunson is just always able to step up to the occasion, which is something we just keep saying over and over again.
I just
But
sorry, not to interrupt you. I just realized he had 26, 4, and 7 in 20 minutes in the second half of Game 4. Like he had a whole great, fantastic game in just the second half. That's
mhm.
crazy.
and it's not just like moments in the fourth quarter, it's just big games. It feels like
Yeah,
Brunson is just always a presence in those games. And I don't know. He just completely lifts his team. And that's what just makes the Knicks so dangerous is if you get into a situation where a game is close with the Knicks,
Mm. You almost have
the
to think
Knicks
that they're
are
going to
an
win it.
almost impossible team to beat
Yeah.
because they have in those types of situations almost always have the best player on the court.
Yeah, and until Brunson is taken out because they're down so much, or you can just kind of tell like there's no way they come back here. You almost like you really can't count them out at all, and almost any scenario is comebackable. I mean, we saw back to back away 20-point comebacks where he just beasts in the fourth quarter. He's the most clutch player in the league. I mean, he won clutch player league this year. Who cares about that? But like, it's he just is. It's such a cool thing to be able to have, like attribute, characteristic, whatever. Um, where like it's like a clutch gene or whatever. Where some play like it's not a literal thing, but it kind of like is. Where some guys are just better in the clutch than others, and
He has a
I mean,
switch.
yeah, Brunson's just up. He's up there with like really any player you can like the MJs of NBA history. He is there with them.
That sounds ridiculous to say, but like I guarantee you the stats would back that up. And just from
Mhm.
watching him play, you know he's an inevitable fourth quarter player.
Yeah, every
But
shot he takes, I
another
feel like it's
player
going in.
and another player I want to shout out though that was really huge for them in game four because that kind of felt like even if Tatum didn't get hurt, that kind of felt like the decisive game in the series where it's like, all right, the Knicks
Yeah.
have this thing locked up.
Mhm.
Um, Mikal Bridges, man,
Yes.
over and over again in the fourth quarter, gets to that spot like right around the painted area, right in the middle of the court, and just all net mid range pull ups the entire fourth quarter.
Yep.
Um, just back breaking types of clutch shots that
And just
I don't
consistent
know.
mid
It
range
just
movement
every
too.
single one of them. Yeah, it just and he had the two like he was huge in the fourth quarter all series. He had the steal on Jalen Brown and the end of overtime in game one. He had the block on Jason Tatum at the end of game two. He has all these shots going in at the end of game four. He had a big game in game six to close out the series. He was shooting really well that game. I still will
He really
never
rewrote
believe that the
that first round.
package. Yeah, and I still will never believe the package that they gave up for him is ever going to be worth it in any universe. But
Hey, if they win it all, we'll see.
he, if they win it all, it's all worth it. So
Yep.
he was fantastic um, in most of the games this series, especially in the fourth quarter. Whether however he was making his impact, because you know he's not always great as a scorer, but
Mhm.
if he had to score, if he had to make a play defensively, you know he was always there to make a play for them when they needed it, and I think he deserves a shout out for how he played in this series.
I agree. Um, the last thing I want to mention from Game Four was that the Celtics only had 15 assists, which I don't know, just something I noticed.
It
It's
was
very low.
a lot of Tatum hero ball. It felt like in the second half, like they were just like Tatum, go
Yeah.
get us a bucket, and that's why
Mhm.
like he kind of had that a stretch where he just couldn't hit a shot
Yeah.
because he had such a high volume of looks that game
Mhm.
because it just felt like the ball wasn't really moving in the normal fashion that we're used to the Celtics moving the ball in.
Yeah. Tatum only shot 6 shots in that fourth quarter. He shot 9 in the third though. So yeah, I mean
I think the
15 is a
third is when he had a
yeah,
couple of
yeah.
misses. It was like
And
the
you were
end of the
saying
third and the start of the fourth.
Macau in the fourth quarter, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal in 12 minutes. He played 44 minutes in this game. He played 8 in the first and then 12 in all 3 other quarters. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
obviously he's the Iron Man. He plays a million minutes every game. In that overtime game, he had like 52 minutes or something crazy. He's just, it's honestly stuff that we've never seen, at least in like my time of watching basketball, that he can just consistently, game after game, night after night, season after season, not miss games, play obscene 40 plus minutes every night. It's pretty crazy. We can
OG
game. Yeah, go on.
OG Anunoby was super inconsistent this series. I wonder if that will
Yeah,
continue because he was. I felt like he was pretty good all throughout the Pistons series. Obviously, his defense is always pretty impactful, but
he had a lot of big shots
he
in that
had
series.
an amazing game one against the Celtics, where he was like pretty much one of the main reasons that they won the game. I think he was their best player that game.
Mm.
In the next two games, horrible.
Yeah,
Um,
5 points, then 2 points, and then in game five he had
Terrible
six
shooting. Game
points.
He was bad in game 5, he was solid in game 6, and then game 4, I think, was, game 1 was probably his best game of the series, but game
Game
4 is
4, he
right
was
behind it because he just had
yeah,
so many big defensive plays, so many big buckets. Well, not so many big, but he had so many big defensive plays, a couple big buckets down the
yeah,
stretch. He was really good for them. Him, Bridges, and Brunson really just like as a trio completely won them that game 4. Um,
yeah.
I can't
He
remember how Towns played this series, but
he was pretty Towns was pretty good.
he was pretty good
He
throughout.
yeah, he rebounded well. He was defending inside pretty solidly. The one dude we still haven't mentioned, which is pretty crazy, Mitchell Robinson, dude. I don't I don't know if this is his peak of his career. Like he'll never get better than this. I don't know, but if it is, like it's a pretty special player. He was such a like his impact is it's so interesting because his offense is obviously not amazing, but he's just such a good rebounder. Consistently getting like
Mm.
4, 5, 6 offensive rebounds a game. He would come in for short minutes and just like instantly get to the boards, instantly get double digit rebounds. His defense
That's how
was
the Celtics were
consistently
trying to get him
good.
out of the game.
Yeah, they started hack a Mitch over and over again, and then eventually he got to the point where he got so consistent at the line, he went 6 for 6, and it was like game 4, and then they just stopped doing it because like they figured that it just wasn't going to work anymore. Um, he had that one possession in game 6. It was the second quarter. Like I feel like everybody's tweeted it by now, where like he is in the right corner defending somebody, then runs up to the wing to defend somebody, then like runs to the top of the key to defend somebody else, then runs to the opposite wing to defend somebody else, and then he has to like he goes back to the middle and has to sprint back to the opposite left corner to go defend Jalen Brown out there, and then he stops him and steals the ball. Like he defended all 5 people in one possession and got the steal. Um, he's just been huge this series. Uh, Consistently, even in games that they would lose, he would be the only plus player and just a huge impact player. It was very cool to see him finally, be healthy and be good and be able to be playable because in prior seasons he like wouldn't even get playoff minutes for the most part, and if he was, it was like not good.
Uh, I do want to shout out Towns as well. I think his best game was also in game 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had, yeah, 11 for 15. He just had a ridiculously efficient game. Um, he was the player I was most worried about coming in because the Celtics really were able to go at him in the regular season. He was a complete mismatch. No
Totally.
matter who they really threw at him, they were able to put him in almost any action and just take him to the rim. He was a pretty good rim protector this series, like by Carl Anthony Towns standards, a
Yeah.
good rim protector this series. You know, it's Carl Anthony Towns, so like
Mm-hmm.
you're not like getting anything special here, but Celtics like really it just felt like they weren't really able to get any good looks at the it felt like most of their good shots were coming from the three-point line and they just couldn't shoot in this series. So, I mean, credit to Carl Anthony Towns for just and credit to the whole Knicks team for just proving me wrong about basically everything that I thought about them.
I agree. The last few things I want to point out here, obviously the Luke Cornett 10, 9, and 7 block game in Game 5 was huge. Other stuff from Game 5 is Derek White had 34 points. He had
Yo,
seven
the
three
goat.
pointers. He's just Derek White's awesome. I don't know. I don't think he gets traded this offseason. I'm assuming they're going to keep him and just like have him maybe be their best player next year. But we'll see. He's probably the only player with real trade value on the team. Jalen Brown had 26, 8, and 12. He had 9 for 17. He was really good too. And then Josh Hart is I wanted to mention too. I said before the season, before the series, if they were going to win this series, Josh Hart was going to have to be a real offensive player, and he was. He started 23, 6 and 3, and then he had 10 points. He had a game 4 was bad for him. Triple singles, like typical Josh Hart game. And then game 5, game 5, he had 24. They obviously lost. He had I think 5 threes. Yeah, he had 5 threes in that game. And then game 6, he's a triple double, and they close out the series and win. He was a big impact player. He was consistently on the boards well. He defended really well. I felt like in this series. He passed well. I don't. He just was consistently good at game after game, and that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, Hart's one of those guys where he's always making an impact, even if he's not scoring. But when he's scoring, he's like a supercharged role player.
Yeah,
Um, he had a lot of he just has some of the craziest stat lines for a player his size. Crazy triple double stat lines, crazy rebound numbers for somebody
He's like
his size. It's kind
he's
of
like
been
the
the same thing
offensive
for a few years
he's like
now.
the offensive version of Alex Caruso. Does that make sense?
It
Like a
does
like a
a
do it
little bit.
all like defensive guy versus like a do it all offensive. I don't know. Maybe a bad analogy.
Yeah, I
Um
see the comparison there.
anything else really? Oh, there was in game 6. There was that one possession where the Knicks got 3 offensive rebounds and kicked it out to OG 3 times in a row, and he knocked down the final 3-pointer. That was cool. It felt like the Celtics kind of gave up in this game a bit. So the two questions I have from this game here is this the end of this current Celtics championship window? I feel like it is. Like I think there's no way that this team is together next year.
Oh, do you mean like with their current roster?
Yeah, yeah, with like
Because I mean, someone's getting traded.
yeah, I feel like it has to.
It's this current roster that they have. It's over. Yeah. I think they'll be back with a different looking core
Mhm.
2 years from now. But
I agree.
um,
But at the same time, like
as for like Kristaps and Drew are probably done. I don't think Derek White goes anywhere, like you said. But what were you gonna
I
say?
think so. All right, based off what you said, I could see Drew getting traded. The only problem is, I think he's 3 years left. I'm pretty sure, and it's like almost 40 million a year. I think so. It's gonna be or like 30.
Is he
Yeah, I think
making that much money?
I'm pretty sure he's got like 120 left. So it's gonna be really hard to move that. I don't know
What?
who's picking that up. Um, like you might have
Oh
to.
my God, he does.
Yeah, you might have to add a pick to that. I don't know if you're taking that off the team. And then Kristaps, I think he's on an expiring, and it's just a similar situation. Like I don't know who's taking him because like it's kind of a salary dump situation if you do trade him away, and if you do like I don't know. I think you do have to trade Kristaps. I don't know what his value is. Uh, what I was going to say was that Tatum Achilles. I don't know what's gonna like. I don't know how good he's gonna be coming back from it. I'm hoping more so than assuming that he's gonna be fine and he's gonna be a good player, All NBA, MVP level player again. But like this, this literally could be the end of his prime, and he could become like just a worse version of himself. And if that's the case, like this team with Tatum as the best player might never be a championship like legitimate championship contender again. Like they could be a consistent playoff team, but there's gonna have to be real retooling. They have to get it like Al Horford's gonna be gone by the time Tatum's back. Kristaps will be gone, so you need a center now. You don't have a backup or a starter unless Cornette's gonna be one of those two. Drew Holiday probably won't be back won't be on the team when Tatum's back, and if he is, he'll be like 37 and so much worse than he is now. He's already showing the offense is getting worse, and the defense a bit too. Not as much. Like the defense is still pretty solid, but the offense is getting worse. Um, yeah, and like the Jalen Brown, if he gets surgery, we'll see about that. There's just a lot of questions here, and Brad Stevens has been a good GM, but like this is gonna be the ultimate test to see if he can go from a championship winning team to almost a complete strip down and then rebuild it back up.
Yeah, there's just way too many questions that you can't answer right now
Yeah,
to predict where the Celtics are going to be going. Obviously, we know next season they're going to, in my opinion, it's really all going to depend on what this offseason entails. If you keep Porzingis and you keep Drew and you keep everything how it is, Jalen Brown misses like the first half of the season. Tatum's out for the whole year. I really do believe that the Celtics are a play-in team.
I mean,
Because the
with
East is
how
just so bad.
yeah, with like I think the East. I was looking at it yesterday. They had 9 teams finish at 500 or below this year, and there were a lot of injuries. But like, if I just quickly off the top of my head, like Pacers, Cavs, Knicks, I do we I'm gonna say 76ers because even if
Yeah,
Embiid's
Sixers will
if
definitely be a playoff team next year.
and yeah, and even if Embiid's injured, like almost even if he's injured the entire season, they're still gonna be better than the Celtics. That's 4. I think the Hawks will be pretty solid next season. The Magic could be in
Mhm.
there. They should be. That's 6.
It's hard because
Like
like the Bucks are an obvious playoff team, but
mhm.
at the same
Yeah,
time you don't know about Giannis, and that's why it's just so hard to predict the
yeah.
next season
Giannis might
before
not be
free
there.
agency starts.
Even if he is, Dame isn't gonna be there. So it's gonna be Giannis
Yeah.
backbreaking this team. And like what I said earlier, like hopefully they can make some changes. There's not that many changes they can realistically make under the second apron, or with the second apron. I don't like this team is going to look pretty similar if Giannis is still on it. The Heat, I don't know what happens with them because that team sucks. Like they should retool that entire team and trade it all away. The Hornets were really solid in the first like 10 games of the season when they were healthy. I think they went like 8-2 or something like that. Like they were really good. And then Trey Mann got hurt and missed like almost the entire season. And Grant Williams tore his Achilles. And LaMelo was getting hurt and like whatever. So they kind of just all fell apart. I had the Hornets as a playoff team before the season started. I don't remember exactly what I had them. They might have been like the 9 seed for me or something. But I was pretty high on them, so I'll probably be pretty high on them going into next year too. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be tough for the Celtics to make the play in. If they do, I think they'll literally scrape in with like I
That's what I'm
this
thinking is like a
they
10
might not
seed
even be a
type
500 team
situation.
honestly. Like if
And I don't
this
think you have to be to make the
I don't think
East play
well
in. I think
you
you
didn't have
probably
to
only
this
have
year.
to win like
I think
36,
yeah
37 games to
I
get
think
in.
three
So,
teams made the play in slash playoff without being a 500 team, which is
yeah.
insane. Like, dude,
And I think the Celtics could easily do that.
yeah, and in the West, I think there were like 5 or 6 teams that were under 500, and like a few of them like have very high upside, like the Spurs or the Blazers or whatever, you know. Do you think is there any world Jalen Brown gets traded this offseason?
I wouldn't. I don't think there is. He's also going to be a hard contract to move with the injury he has.
Yeah, we'll see if he gets surgery. They're
He's got
saying
one of
no,
the
but
bigger contracts in the league.
yeah,
I don't think they move him. I think you're in a position right now where I think the Celtics could make the play in, like I said, if they don't change anything about their roster and they just straight
yeah,
up run it back. You get Jalen Brown in the second half, team gets hot, whatever. Um, I think you have to trade Drew and Porzingis. Like you said, Drew's a hard player to move.
yeah.
Um,
I don't know how many
but
teams are
if you
looking
have,
like
yeah,
not
but
necessarily looking
they're
for him, but could fit him
the Nuggets.
because it's almost similar to like an MPJ situation where like it's a like a player that was really good for a championship team, so you pay him a lot of money hoping that like it wasn't just a playoff good run and it's actually who he is, and then it's not who he is, and now you're sitting on this huge amount of money, 40 million plus dollars for essentially a role player in the starting lineup. You said Nuggets. MPJ Drew swap is, I guess, somewhat interesting. It's more interesting for the Nuggets than it is the Celtics, that's for sure, because Jalen Brown and MPJ on the same team is kind of ugly. Like
it's a lot of
it's kind of
bricks.
redundant. Um, but yeah, I think that's that's mostly it from the series. Any other takeaways?
I was just gonna say, I think the plan for the Celtics should be blow it up, try to get a high pick, and then you come back with a core of because there's a really good draft class coming up next year.
And it's not just the
Lots of
top guy. There's
prospects.
like five,
Yeah,
six, 7
there's
really good
like
players.
lots of guys that would be number one prospects in other classes.
Yeah,
Um,
dude, I'm telling you,
I
they're
think you
gonna
do
get
that.
Devonsa or they're gonna get Cambuza or
Oh,
something. Like
1,000,000%. Adam Silver will always keep the big markets happy.
Cambuza in the Celtics series is gonna make me throw up.
Yeah, but, like, if they get Boozer, like and then you have Tatum and Brown, you're right back into
Yeah,
a contending window,
you're
and you'd
back
have
right
so
into
much
like the
space
top 2, 3 seed.
opened up if you can get rid of Porzingis and Holiday, which will be a difficult task. You might have to attach future picks to that, but
Yeah,
I don't think the Celtics should worry about trading future picks when they know if they blow it up for this next season, you get a good prospect, those picks
mm,
aren't gonna matter once you have Tatum and Brown, so,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's my opinion on what they should do, but we'll see what happens.
And all right, the last thing I want to say is if so Tatum's out next year, if Jalen Brown misses a lot of time, we're about to see the most shot chucking season ever from Peyton Pritchard, and I'm
I
very
love it.
excited. He might
The
have
duck.
yeah, he might have 35 30-point games next season. It's gonna be very exciting.
I because it's so fun. At the end of every season, the Pritchard always has like his annual 40-point triple double stat pad game
Yeah,
where he just gets to play like a bottom three team in the East and none of the starters play, and he
yeah,
plays 40 minutes. That'll be all of next season if they blow it up. So I'll be
for sure.
attentively watching those games as an Oregon fan.
Yeah, and also like, dude, Derek White might. I don't even know what the outlook looks for him because Derek White number one option. Like how the defense is gonna scheme for that. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how the
It'll be
Celtics look next
that
season.
is something I will be excited to see. That'll tell us a lot about Derek White as kind of a high volume player.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because we've never seen it before. He wasn't
he's the
really
one
like
guy I think
yeah
He's the one guy I think if you're Boston, you absolutely can't move him. I think he's someone you got to keep around.
I think you can't move him. I agree, but like I said earlier, I think it's the only player with like that out of the players that you could trade of Drew, Kristaps, and him. He's the only player with like legitimate real value because it's a good contract with multiple years left, and he's still a very very good player that like every single team in the entire league wants.
Hmm.
And I think like you'll get. I don't think they should trade him at all. I think they would get like a real boatload back. But yeah, that's enough. Knicks, Celtics. Um, we can move on to T Wolves Warriors. We covered the first two games, and then there were only three more games after that. I honestly, I mentioned to you earlier, I like barely have notes for this series because there weren't like I just didn't. I wasn't like noticing that much of the series. It was just it was kind of beat downs over and over again. The Warriors almost got a game in game three, and that was their best chance to get a game. And then after that, like once they lost game three,
Over.
first game at home. After that, it was just like they're not winning a game. That was their best chance. They almost won it. Uh, yeah, I mean, like a few things that I can take from this. Kaminga was pretty interesting to me in the series. They obviously, didn't realize until Game 7 of the first round versus the Rockets that they should have played him. And then,
Oh, Steve Kerr.
yeah, and then Steve Kerr was like, "Wait, this guy, he might be kind of good actually." Um,
He had
he had a
20
30-point game in
plus the
Game 5.
last the last 3 games of the series.
Yeah, so a 30-point game from Kaminga and you lose is kind of crazy. But
Heartbreaking.
obviously, yeah, no Curry, so it's tough. Pods had 28 in that game, or Kaminga had 26. Was it game 5 or game 4 that he had 30? I know he had 30 in one of these games.
He had 30 in game 3,
Oh, was it game
the one
3?
they almost won. Yeah, him and
Oh,
Jimmy both had 30 that game.
yeah,
By
you're
the way,
right.
Jimmy, dude, you have to empty the clip in game 5 to try to get
100.
Curry
Yeah,
back on the floor. That was so
totally.
lame from him. You know,
And
that's the worst part about Jimmy for me is he has this whole thing where he's this dog and like he's tougher than everybody else.
mhm,
He kind of went out like a pussy. Like he went out and just
4
didn't
for
shoot
11,
the ball. And like if
1
you're
for 2 in
Jimmy
11
Butler,
minutes in the fourth.
with the teams that are with the players that are on your team in that game, you need to shoot the ball like 25 times and go out with respect.
100%.
And he just didn't. And and from his body language that game, it looked like he was already done. Like he just didn't
100%.
even believe that
100%.
they had a chance.
That is
And
that is
I
one of
don't
my
know.
few notes. Is that like game 5? It's win or go home, season on the line. Steph wasn't going to come back game 6. I think there was a slim to none chance he was coming back this series. But
I think he would have came back game 6. He wouldn't have been Steph Curry though.
yeah, I think I mean I guess either game 6 or 7 he would have came back like if they like obviously they need him in that scenario maybe, but I don't think he would have been healthy enough to come back like properly. Um but yeah, like you said, Jimmy just he looked like he just didn't care. Like I said, two shots. He played 11 minutes in the fourth quarter and took two shots. That is
Moses Moody initiated offense the whole quarter. That was
yeah,
terrible.
like it's just you can't that it just really annoyed me because they had a legitimate chance to win that game. They only lost by I think 11. Like and it was closer than that for most of the
They
game.
got it really close. It was like a
Yeah.
7 point game at one point in the fourth.
Yeah. It might have been even closer than that. So like I don't know, Jimmy just he kind of annoyed me in this series. It felt like he wasn't aggressive more than just game 5. A lot of times it felt like he was kind of shying away at times. Um
Yeah. And he does this all the time. It's what
yeah,
I can't
it's
stand
not
about
a
him.
new thing for him at all. Um Kaminga was pretty big in this series. I think the biggest part for him is just that he upped his trade value. I think teams are maybe looking at this like, hey, maybe this guy he scored 30, he scored 26, 25 here, whatever. Like maybe he's going to be a legitimate player. I don't. Do you buy into that? Do you think that he could be like a legitimate real player in like a not necessarily like a
Kum-
all star, but what is his ceiling for you? What about that?
Well, ceiling, I do think like if Kuminga hits his ceiling, I think he's an all-star. He's someone I've been high on since he got drafted. I remember I think I talked about this last time when him and Moody got drafted. I was there was
Yeah. So I will. Yeah, Kaminga was pretty good, and I was high on him too. All right, you cut out there for a second there.
Oh, did I cut out?
Yeah, yeah. You said you mentioned last episode you were high on Kaminga and Moody.
Oh, yeah, and then, they kind of just both ended up being mediocre, but Kuminga is, like, a really good athlete who has the tools at with his size and his, I don't know what his wingspan is, but he's a big dude,
Yeah,
and
he's got like a
he's
7 foot
super
wingspan.
athletic. That's what I would imagine, and he's got everything you need to be a good defender at an NBA level.
Yep.
All it's gonna take is effort and instincts. Offensively, great play finisher already. Like he's a great cutter without the ball. With the ball in his hands, needs work. He doesn't have a very good handle, but when he's able to get the ball and take it at the rim, he's a very hard player to stop
Yep.
when he gets a full head of steam towards the rim. He's not you'd like to see more from him as a finisher, but that's something that he could improve. And then as a shooter, he's shown like he's obviously not a good shooter right now, but I think he could be a serviceable spacer in the future. Um,
I feel like if he's
that's
gonna
if he
learn,
hits his ceiling,
I feel like if he's gonna learn to shoot
but
though, like it's gonna be on the Warriors.
I guess. But well, with Steve Curry barely gets to play sometimes, so
That's fair.
this is his ceiling though. So we'll just assume serviceable spacer. I don't think he hits his ceiling. I don't think it matters where he goes, but I could definitely see him carving out a sort of like he's not really the same player in terms of skill, but I could see him carving out like almost an Aaron Gordon type role on another team, perhaps, if he was able to get better as a defender and keeps his abilities that he currently has as a play finisher. Like not current Aaron Gordon because he'll never have the shot, but
Okay.
like a couple year ago Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I can like kind of see what you mean. I feel like Aaron Gordon was more. I mean, this is like not a statistical measurable thing, but I feel like he just had more heart. Like Aaron Gordon just he just like was the ultimate like
well, this is just assuming that Kuminga gets to like the right spot where he's more confident
yeah
in playing and
yeah
all that,
yeah
which I
that's
think
fair.
Hart would come with that.
Yeah,
But what
yeah,
like
because
a
he would buy in more.
2022 Aaron Gordon is what I'm thinking is he becomes in his best case scenario at this point.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned like emptying the clip. Podzemski was the guy who did that in Game 5 or
He was
yeah Game 5.
amazing in Game 5.
Yeah, he
Amazing.
fourth quarter played all 12, 9 points, 2 rebounds, 4 for 5. He finished with 28, 6 and 4, 2 steals on 11 for 18, 4 for 6 from the line, 6 true shooting. Yeah, it's just that's what we needed from Jimmy. I think I said 11 shots, right? Like that's you can't. That's not acceptable. Yeah, 4 for 11, just ridiculous. He was a minus 17 in an 11-point loss, the
And
lowest on the team.
Jimmy will get the ball and drive at the rim with zero intention to actually score. And it makes me so angry. And it's kind of something we see Josh Hart do. The only difference is that Josh Hart isn't supposed to making $60 million a year and supposed to be the best player on the team with Curry
Right.
out. So like I don't he takes like he's so good at getting to the foul line, like maybe the best I've ever seen in my life at drawing fouls,
Yeah.
and he just doesn't like he drives and just doesn't even look at the basket, and he'll jump and he'll pass it to the corner and then he'll go away, get the ball again, do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so annoying. He's done it for I don't even know how long
Since he got
now,
in the Heat,
but
really,
yeah,
like
it's
finishing.
just like he can go in the paint, pump fake twice, and get to the line probably every single play. And he just chooses not to do it, which really pisses me off. But I really don't like Jimmy Butler.
I um I don't dislike him, but I think I totally agree with everything you're saying. None of what you said was wrong. He uh there also I think it was I also don't remember which game it was, game 4 or 5, I believe. He was literally only hunting free throws. He was not even looking at the basket.
Might
He
have
was
been
just like
game
he
four.
would I think it was game 4. He would like just sprint at the basket and just like kind of throw himself towards the nearest defender and hope he would get a call. And he was getting a lot of calls. But like when you don't get a call, now you just look like a dumbass. Like you're throwing yourself on the ground. You lose the ball because you either threw it at the rim or somebody stole it or blocked it or something, and you just wasted a possession. Um, it was kind of their only form of offense that they were able to use because no one else could hit a shot. Like there were two games the series where Kevin Knox was getting minutes, like actual real Kevin Knox got fourth quarter minutes in one of these games. Um, so I think it was because they was a blowout and he kind of made a comeback actually, but like still, that shouldn't
Well, if you come
comebacks.
back, Steve Kerr's not going to put the starters back in. He's just going to leave
Yeah,
them out there. So
yeah, no doubt about it. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of holes on this Warriors roster. They almost were lucky to get through seven with the Rockets. They should have ended it earlier than that, but like they played with their food a lot. And not to say that the Rockets were bad, because the Rockets were a really good and underrated team, but they could have closed that. They were up 3-1 and they ended up going to seven. Like they could have closed that out earlier. Uh, they just the Timberwolves are a better team. I had the Timberwolves going to the conference finals. I know I said the Lakers, but my bracket that I made before that podcast had the Timberwolves. Um, so I just the Timberwolves are a better team. Anthony Edwards. We haven't even really talked about much about the Timberwolves. We more so talked about the Warriors. Um, the Timberwolves were played well this series. Obviously, game one they couldn't throw a rock in the ocean. They could not hit a three for their life, and that's how they ended up losing. Shockingly, even with Steph out after the second quarter. Um, but they were good game after game. Julius Randle was awesome in this series once again. Rudy Gobert played well, and then Anthony Edwards was just the ultimate big game riser consistently.
yeah, Julius Randle, man, like he was so good that Draymond got on a podcast and admitted that he got beat by him. Just got straight up outplayed by him.
Yeah,
He was amazing in game five. His finishing was so good. He was just able to consistently get to the basket. I don't think his three was falling at the same rate this series as it was in the Lakers series. I don't know the stat, but um, he's just he's just back to playing bully ball, which is kind of something that he was getting away from a little bit in his later years with the Knicks. Is he was kind of this more like just taking shots completely out of his play style, like step back threes consistently, like just a full blown perimeter scorer almost.
yeah, and when like you give him
He's
the ball, and it was just like it was a black hole. It was the possession
yeah.
ends here kind of guy. Like he would catch the ball in a post up, and then everyone would just kind of stand there, just like, all right, like let's see what happens here, guys. And then like you would take a fade away and miss, and then like now it's
And
back on defense to see him get cooked.
this what we're seeing out of him now is kind of what we imagined when we saw him get drafted out of Kentucky is like this is going to be this big bully ball guy who's like super athletic and he has a decent enough handle to just go get the ball inside and get whatever he wants at the
Mm-hmm.
rim, and now we're kind of seeing that again. So uh, I don't know how much that play style will work against the Thunder, but um,
He might get
as
traded
for
a lot
the
this series.
yeah, this could be a high turnover series for Julius Randle, where people are like, "Haha, see, I told you he was ass." But
I knew it all along. No, I will like
um,
no matter what
he
happens in this next
has,
series. Julius Randle is a good player, and I will die on
yes,
that hill. Like he's impressed me so much in this series or in this
yeah,
playoffs. He's been one
and
of my favorite players.
when he plays this way, he is absolutely a good player. And that's not saying like when he plays, like
Borderline
he
great
puts up
player,
these
honestly.
numbers. When he plays this play style, he is a very good and hard player to scheme against because he's
Yeah,
just got this physical profile that's hard to guard with the skill set that he has. But Randall was great. Gobert, like I said earlier, with the volleyball rebounds, pisses me off. No reason why he shouldn't be like one of the best rebounders in the league,
he
and he
played well late.
still like is up there. He did play well, but like his defensive impact is ridiculous, and like it's just beating a dead horse to keep talking about how impactful he is to on the defensive end. Um, I'll be interested to see how much his play finishing really comes in as a factor against the Thunder. It's biggest team he's played so far. I really don't think he's going to have like these second chance roll to the basket type opportunities that he's had in
Yeah,
these last two series. But
it's gonna be a
and then
similar
there's
thing.
Anthony Edwards.
Mm.
He that what was it game four? The third quarter he had in game four was kind of like this defining moment in the series. We're like, all right, this thing's over. He
I
shot
have.
like 4 for 5 from three in the quarter. But what were you
I
gonna
can
say?
pull it up. I can pull it up right now. I have it in my notes for game three that like it was a second game in a row that the Warrior it was a back and forth first half. I think the Warriors might have led at halftime, and then Anthony Edwards
They
just went
did.
ballistic in the second half and just blew him out of the water. Like they really went on a run and stomped it out. That third quarter, yeah, 9 minutes, 16 points
Oh,
in game four, 6 for 8, 3 for 5 from three, plus 16. He was a 94.8 true shooting. My goodness.
yeah, that third
Yeah,
quarter in game 4 was kind of that moment where you're like, all right, yeah, this like any chance of a Warriors like pushing this far enough to get Curry back is over.
yeah.
Um, and
I know.
he,
I really, yeah. We talked about it once they went down. We said last week that like this is ending in five, and we both agreed with it. I never for a second believed that they once Steph went down. My instant reaction was the series is over. There's no chance the Timberwolves like allow this to go enough games for Steph to come back.
and it was at a point too where like even if Steph was able to come back, you had this sense that there's just no way he was going to be 100%.
Yeah,
Edwards played a lot better
three.
than I remember
Mhm.
seeing on the TV stats wise in game 5. I thought he kind of had a pretty average game, but he's I mean he was 5 for 9 from 3.
Yeah, 22, 7, and
His
4
numbers were good
stocks,
from that game, but I felt like
70
the
true
last
shooting.
game of the series was definitely more of a Julius Randle game. He was popping out on the screen every single play for them.
Yeah, I do want to talk about Julius Randle a bit more. So a few things here. I first off is um, like at the end of the postseason, I want to do a postseason like a recap doing an All NBA team, but for the postseason. And like spoiler, Julius Randle will be on that, and like he'll probably be like a second team guy for me because he's just been that good. You could almost put him
Amazing.
like probably can't put him first team, but like he's almost been that good. He had a triple double in game three. He had 24, 10, and 12. It was the first triple double. I didn't have it in my notes. It's since Kevin Garnett. I don't remember when Garnett got that, but it's the first Timberwolves triple double in the playoffs, which that was 20 years ago. Like that's, I mean, they haven't made many postseason runs since then, but that's still pretty crazy. His lowest scoring game in this series, 18 points in game one.
Mhm.
Like that was his worst game. He didn't shoot very well, and obviously they
And
lost.
no
But
one played well for them that
yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah. Like it wasn't just him. The next game, I mean, 24, 7, and 11 on 10 for 17. He hit 1 for 4 from three. Like you said, it wasn't. It was a little up and down this series, but crazy consistency. Next game, triple double, 3 steals, 10 for 23. He had 31, 5 and 3, 2 stocks on over 50% shooting from the field, 4 for 8 from three in that game four. And then obviously in game five, 72% from the field first off, which is insane. 13 for 18, 29, 8,
Taking
and
tough
5.
shots too.
Yeah, like that's just the box score. It's just Julius Randle was so good and offensively making tough shots, like you said. Defensively, he was getting stops. He was being that big body that he can throughout his career. He hasn't been that good of a defender. He's been like okay to below average,
Mhm.
because of his size. He can kind of just like survive a lot of the time, and that's kind of like when you talked about the Lakers Timberwolves series. I was saying it's going to be a big thing for his defense to see if his size is just going to allow him to like survive against Luka and LeBron, or if it's like he's too heavy on the feet, whatever, and they're going to be able to go right by him. And that was the thing when he was on the Knicks for like basically his entire career, was that he was able to get cooked a lot. This series, he was not. He was using his size well. He was not getting fried on defense really at all in both series so far, and this season in general too. He just this whole season and really this playoffs especially, he's been great. Almost like their MVP in a way of like obviously you knew Ant was going to be good, but for them to take that step and be a championship contender, like they could beat this Thunder team. I don't think they will, but they could. And if they do, it's going to be on the back of Julius Randle having big games.
Yeah, I definitely think he'll be. The big thing's going to come down next series to how Anthony Edwards is going to play because I just think his play style is something that the Thunder are really equipped to defend well against, and we've seen that in the regular season. They're gonna turn him into having to be a lot more of a playmaker, which is still something that isn't fully developed about his game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Randall, man, like you said, this might be a series where he has high turnovers, but just his ability to get to the rim, and like we've seen this Thunder team fouls a lot when people are able to get inside. Um, he's
Yeah,
someone
they
who
do.
can get
They
inside and
foul
cause havoc in the
Timberwolves in the
paint.
league this year.
Yeah, they're just not super disciplined in the paint. Um, so it'll be interesting to see Timberwolves get physical.
Mhm.
It's kind of what they do, but
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
looking at
I think it'll be
Anthony
more of an ant
Edwards.
thing.
I'm looking at Anthony Edwards' stats against the Thunder this season. Uh, I mean, like box score wise, 27-2, 23-7-7 with 3 steals, 29-10-7, and then 17-13-8. So that sounds all good. All of those games almost 40 minutes. Um, but like 50%, 27%, 38%, 33%, and then 57, 25, 30, 16 from three. So like it's gonna be like you said, Anthony Edwards. It's gonna be huge for him. When I said Julius Randle is gonna be like the MVP for this next series, it's more so because, like I said before, you almost expect Anthony Edwards to play well, and so
Mm,
it's like saying Shea is an MVP for like
okay,
Shea's the
yeah.
MVP for the Nuggets series, where it's like you just kind of have to assume that Shea's gonna play well for them to win the series, but like who else is gonna step up? The J Dubs, the Jets, in the Timberwolves sense, it's gonna be Julius Randle has to play well. Like we said, Cat can't have bad games against the Celtics. Obviously, I mean he didn't really have bad games, but like he probably could have because they had injuries or whatever. It's gonna be kind of the same with Julius Randle. He can't really have bad games if they're gonna want to beat the Thunder because the Thunder are a better team than the Celtics are. The Thunder aren't gonna have horrific shooting night after horrific shooting night. They're not gonna allow two 20-point comebacks at home. And then it's gonna be bench shooting. The Dante DiVincenzo's, the NAW's, um, Nas Reed, whoever it is that's stepping up off the bench, they're gonna have to knock down their threes when they get them because like the Thunder have been a little shaky 3-point shooting sometimes in this past series, and if they have any shaky games against the Timberwolves, they have to use those against them.
Timberwolves lost last West Finals to the Mavericks in like they lost in 5 games, which
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking from the outside and you see that, you're like, all right, they just weren't ready yet. But they had probably only one game in that entire series where it was just they got clearly beaten.
Yeah, I mean, one of the
Um,
games, Luca hit a buzzer beater game winner.
game.
Like it's, all of those games were pretty down to the wire.
It's a series that the Timberwolves could have easily won if a few other things went their way. Now they face a much tougher opponent in the Thunder.
Much better defense. There's no guys you can
Yeah,
punt. Um, but there's also you could also argue that nobody is as good as Luca was last postseason against them. Which I mean,
Luca had a
I would say
monster
Shea
series
is,
against them
but
last season.
yeah, he was Luca was. I mean, Luca against Rudy Gobert is always good outside of this first round. But this year, Luca and Lakers doesn't count at all. But yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see how the Timberwolves are gonna be able to respond versus the Thunder. We can. Do we have anything else for Timberwolves Warriors, or can we
I
move on?
do want to
Okay.
shout out the old man, Mike Conley, for his fantastic performance in Game 5. Um, it hit a lot of huge threes for them. Every time the Warriors made a run, it felt like Mike Conley was just hitting a back-breaking three to crush their soul. But
Yeah.
he's been really, really bad like all season and for pretty much the entirety of the playoffs. And he was bad that whole series, really.
Mhm.
But that Game 5, I love Mike Conley. He was one of my favorite players when he was on the Grizzlies in his prime, and it was really cool to see him at this age be able to have a game like that where he played so well. Because we probably don't have very many of them left. So just wanted to shout out the old man, Mike Conley.
Yeah, I agree. He had 4 threes in that game, and like I think 2 or 3 of them were like just massive timely threes that really like halted those comeback runs. All right, we can move on to outlook for Warriors offseason. Anything else you want to touch on? Who they need to make a
I've
trade. Like I
I
think
talked to the Warriors, or I talked to a Warriors fan the other day. He was telling me that he has like this dream lineup of Curry, Kobe White, PJ Washington, Draymond. I'm like, I don't really know how you're going to get all these guys, but um,
who if you're trading for Kobe White, like you're I mean I guess Kaminga, but there's no way the Bulls. I mean the Bulls are dumb, so they might, but
here's
like. Like,
Here's what I think the plan should be. I think Moody and Kuminga have to be gone. Moody's value is like continuing to tank. You got to get rid of
yeah,
him while you still probably can. Kuminga's value is actually probably a little bit higher than
it's
it
at an all-time
was.
high probably outside of like his rookie season.
Outside of like last year before the All Star break when he was averaging like 25 points a game. But at that point, you're like, wait, this guy might be insane. So it makes sense
Yeah,
why they didn't trade him.
yeah, I felt like they shouldn't have traded him last year too because I thought that was a Finch like his finally his breakout.
With how inconsistent his spot in the rotation is, you have to trade Kuminga instead of paying him. I think if they give him big money, it's
Yeah,
just a bad idea.
the report is
Um,
that they're like that they've already talked and are mutually kind of looking to do a sign and trade. Um, I saw somebody I don't remember who it was. They said the Warriors package Kaminga and like picks and maybe Moody or something. Who really cares about the rest? And then they would get like a Cam Johnson and maybe like a one of the nug
Cam Johnson's another
one of the
player
Nets
that I
bigs.
saw.
Yeah, Cam Johnson's gonna be same as the All Star break. He's gonna be mocked to every team. I really hated that the Thunder didn't pull that trigger. I kind of wish that they did for Aaron Wiggins. I know how maybe like that sounds or whatever, but I think that they could have really used him. And I think he won't be a Thunder this offseason. He'll definitely be on a new team. There's no depth. There's no way the Nets keep him. And the Warriors would make so much sense. A elite three
Mhm.
point spot up shooter, a good defender, a solid rebounder, like just another veteran for that team. He would fit their team so perfectly. And I think
Something they badly need too. They need
desperately,
spacing so bad.
so bad. And they also need a big, and the Nets have a lot of extra bigs that they can depart with. They can give up one of those. Um, I don't. They need some big. Draymond. I don't. It doesn't have to be the Nets. I don't know what the trade is, what team it is, but Draymond
I
cannot play center next season. He's just not like his first off, the athleticism is not there anymore to do it. He his size is like very clearly showing at this point of his career. He's still an elite defender, no doubt about it. But like the way he was in
not a
2015,
five type defender.
yeah, he could be a great four. Um, then the only problem is like you're worrying a little bit about his 3 point shooting. He needs to get at least a little bit better. I don't know if he improves at this point of his career, but like if he's playing the permanent four, he needs to be a better shooter. Yeah, I'm not sure
I'm
what
thinking
center that is, but they need something.
I saw, and I know like people hear this and they're like, "Oh no, not him." Brooke Lopez.
Oh yes, I did have that in my
I
notes.
really
I saw a report that they were
Brooke
interested.
Lopez is a lot worse than he used to be. He's
Very
still a valuable starting caliber player on a team like the Warriors,
totally.
especially when he would. What is insane is he would be like the best center they've had since Will Chamberlain. Or Nate Thurmond, but the Warriors
Yikes.
centers, especially during the Steve Kerr era,
Hey,
are
Draymond
horrible.
was a center, all right?
Well, I mean, if we count Draymond,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah, yeah.
but
I know what you
like
mean.
a true big man.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
Warriors have not had one since Nate Thurmond in the 70s. That's ridiculous. Um, Brooke Lopez fixes some of the spacing problems that you have, especially if you get him and Cam
Whoa, what
Johnson. You
about
wouldn't have.
Zaza?
Come on, come on, Zaza. Come on, Zaza.
Right.
Although we have to thank Zaza for inventing
I'm
we're
not
not
thanking him for
inventing, but
anything.
causing
He
the
ruined
rule about
Kawhi's career. I'm not thanking him at
not
all.
thanking, getting the rule put in place where you can't undercut people on threes.
Yeah, because
Um,
he ruined Kawhi's career. What a terrible person he was. You should
I
be
don't
thanking
mean to
him,
thank him for that. We should be
imprisoning him.
glad that fuck Zaza Pachulia. That's all I have to say
There
about
we go.
Zaza Pachulia.
But yeah, Brooke
Brooke
Lopez.
Lopez brings you the spacing that you need. He's still like a 38% 3 point shooter. He sets good screens, which is something that's very valuable in the Warrior system. Yes, he's like bottom 1% of the NBA athletically, but he's still like a decent rim protector. Not to the same degree he was probably 2 3 years ago, but
Yeah.
someone who's going to offer more rim protection than anyone besides Draymond that the Warriors have had in a while. And so if you
Also,
could get him and Cam Johnson, that's a really good like championship level team.
yeah, if they had both of those, I don't know if they win. I mean, assuming Steph is healthy as well, like they, I don't know if they win this series, but it's not ending in five. That's for sure. Um,
Mhm.
I Brooke Lopez is a really bad rebounder though. I mean,
True.
like we'll see how truly bad he is because when he was with the Bucks, like it was kind of a similar situation like when Russ was on the Thunder, where it's like I'm getting the rebound because I want to just kickstart this fast break as fast as I can and get in transition. So it's way faster if Giannis just grabs the rebound and goes, then Brook Lopez catches it, hands it off to Giannis, and then we go. Um, but that like I still don't think Brook Lopez is that good of a rebounder, and so that would hurt them. They do need like Kevon Looney cannot get minutes next year. We're done with Kevon Looney now. It's been 10
Steve
years
Kerr
for Kevon Looney.
needs to just give up this gimmick where he can't have a big man. Like your system can still work with the true big man in it, and especially
Yeah.
someone with Brook Lopez's skill set.
Mm.
I think it fits pretty well. I'm
Yeah,
just I'm sick of them not having a big.
I'm trying to think like through guys. I mean, there's rumors about Daniel Gafford not being on the Mavericks next season, which would obviously make a lot of sense with Lively being there.
Laker.
You know, yeah, Gafford to the Lakers is almost guaranteed in my opinion, but maybe he could be a Warrior. I mean, it would be a little bit of a weird fit, but
I
maybe.
think it'd be a little funky, yeah. Especially with
Yeah,
the spacing issues, having a guy who literally cannot shoot threes would be kind of
yeah,
weird.
that is
But
true. The Warriors kind of need a guy. I mean, yeah, Quentin Post can shoot too. Yeah. Never mind. He's not going to the
no
Warriors.
more Quentin Post next season, too. By the way, I don't want any more of him
You don't like
either.
him?
I'm not a fan of him at all.
I kind of agree.
No, I don't
He
like
was
him.
like, he's a good.
He feels like one of those players that Warriors fans are like, "Hey, remember Quentin Post?" Like 10 years from now,
Mhm.
and it's like in a joking way because nobody really wants to remember Quentin Post.
Yeah.
He's
Damn.
bad.
Yeah, his offense was solid, but he defensively terrible. All right, we can move
So
on.
bad.
Second round, third round. We can look forward. Eastern Conference, Western Conference. We'll start in the East. Knicks, Pacers. Last round we saw it in last year we saw it in the semis. Went to seven. The Pacers won and then go on to get swept by the Celtics. Who do you have? How many
Let's sweep
games?
though.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe the closest sweep I've ever seen. Honestly, actually, no. Cavs, Pacers. That's the closest sweep I've ever seen. Back when LeBron was there, they were losing in all four fourth quarters,
oh right,
and
the one
then
where they had
yeah,
like a
LeBron
28 point comeback or something in one of those
yeah
games.
LeBron had like 3 game winners I think or something. That run will forever be cemented in my brain, bro. That guy LeBron's crazy. Knicks, Pacers, how many
Pacers,
games? And
Knicks. I think
Knicks.
I am taking.
I can go first if you need a minute.
This
I'll
is
go first.
tough, dude.
I'll go
You
first.
can
I
go
got
first. This is tough, man. Let me
Pacers
hear.
in
Let me hear your points
six.
and see if you convince me.
Pacers in six. I'll be honest. I don't have notes because I haven't really thought too much about this, but I'm taking Pacers in six. Um, they just the way that they just dismantled the Cavs was more impressive than the way that the Knicks beat the Celtics. That is comparable. I think that
I would agree.
they also just dominated the Bucks so well. I think I'm super excited to see Halliburton versus Brunson. We saw it last year, but this year Halliburton's like truly grown into himself more, and he's like fully an All NBA level guy now. And I like this is some of the best point guard versus point guard play like in my viewing lifetime, honestly. Especially like young point guard play, like future of the league type guys. It's pretty exciting.
Especially in the fourth quarter, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Clutch minutes. Halliburton versus Brunson is going to be
Yeah, it's going
peak
to be
cinema.
band for
That's going to
band,
be
back and forth. Yeah.
so good. So much fun to watch.
All right. Wait. All right. Prediction: who gets more game winners between Brunson and Halliburton?
I'm not betting against fourth quarter Brunson. I've done it once. I will not do it again.
I'll
That
take
will not
Halliburton.
happen.
Bro, we got two last series. I'll take Halliburton. Riding with my
It means Brunson's due.
boy.
Brunson is due.
Okay. What was I about to say? So, yeah, the point guard play is going to be really good. Nemhard is not a good Brunson defender at all. And so I don't know. Like, I think Brunson's going to have a really good series. He had a really good series last time, too. And I think it's going to be the exact same situation. This is just going to be like an offensive juggernaut of a series, similar to the Cavs Pacers, where like the games are super high scoring, especially in the beginning. It's going to be the same thing here. Both teams have more specifically, the Pacers have a super high pace and get up a lot of threes. And they don't go down to anybody really. Like most teams have to play with the Pacers, and so I don't know how much the Knicks are going to slow down the Pacers. And if you're playing at the Pacers' pace, that makes me just like you're playing their game, and I feel like that just leans towards the Pacers. I'm saying six rather. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it goes seven. I probably should say seven, but I just feel like the Pacers are a better team. They're deeper. Like that's a big thing. The Knicks don't use their bench obviously outside of like one or two guys. Um, they're just deeper. I feel like I kind of just trust them a bit more. Mikal Bridges a little shaky. I don't know if he'll be better this series. I mean, Uchi obviously was a little shaky too. But yeah, I just think that I just trust. I mean, Neesmith, Nemhard were consistently series after series have been really really good hitting big shots. They haven't proven that they'll slow down. I mean, they were good last year too. So I don't know. I just trust the Pacers more.
I'm not. This might be the hardest series to predict that I've
I
had
think it is.
the entire playoffs, man.
It
Like
really might
I
be.
something is telling me to pick the Knicks here. Um,
I wish I had the stats
I
more
don't
prepared
know.
for this. I probably should have, but I was like trying to prepare more so for the recap of the other series. Um, Maybe I'll try to have stuff more prepared for next time. I mean, we'll be a little bit into the series by then, but I just like in the end, I just trust the Pacers more. Is really what it comes down to.
See, and I don't know if that's the case for me.
They also don't have a negative like they also don't have a bad offensive player like Josh Hart. Like I'm Josh Hart, where I'm
True.
gonna like you gotta hit threes against me to make me like really step up and sell out for you. Siakam is a sniper, and he's like one of the best offensive players in this series. So, that's the guy on the other side. And if you could say like Nemhard or Neesmith, like I said, they're hitting 3, 4, 5 threes a game. And then obviously Turner's really good. He's been great this postseason, and Halliburton's been fantastic. And then their bench has been great from almost every single player that's played. Like even their like 10th guy off the bench has been good. And the Knicks have two people off the bench, and then you have like Landry Shamet coming out.
I
Really a
think one of
steal.
the big strengths that the Knicks had in their Celtics series is they have 2 point of attack defenders and OG and
Yeah,
McCall.
it'll make it tough on Halliburton for sure.
This type of series, though, obviously, like the Pacers aren't spending the entire game in transition, but because they push the pace so much, point of attack defense isn't as valuable against them.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, like
and
they do
they run
obviously.
so many actions that.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
You do need that like the half court offense, but like the Pacers run so much. They get out in transition on every single miss. Like they're instantly
Mhm,
three guys down the court. Halliburton's full court passing. And so
mhm.
it'll matter, especially in the clutch. It'll matter, but like it, who knows how many clutch moments there will be. Like there will be clutch games, no doubt about it. But there might be two games that there aren't because of how much the Pacers are getting out in transition. And if there is a game or two that there isn't, and the Pacers end up winning those, that might be what can, like that's too big of a hill for the Knicks to climb.
There's a lot of variables at play that could swing this series one way or the other. Um, I do think the Knicks are going to be conditioned well enough to be able to not have the pace like run them off the court. Obviously, just because
Mm-hmm.
the depth will be a huge advantage for Indiana because they just don't have to play their guys for as many minutes to be able to still be as impactful. The
Do you
Knicks are going to have
do
to.
you think that they like stick with the same depth though? Like same as the Thunder. Like they, both of these teams love to play 10 guys. Are they sticking with 10? Because the Thunder you saw in Game 7, they went down to 8, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down maybe even a little more.
Yeah, I think it'll come down to matchups. I think for game one, we'll definitely see the Pacers go 10 deep, kind of get a feel for how things are in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One thing I'm interested to see for both of these upcoming series is if it's kind of similar to how the semifinals started, where all the teams who got huge rest lost their first game. Because the Pacers and the Timberwolves are both getting a much longer rest.
Yeah.
I guess the Pacers aren't getting a super long rest in comparison to the Knicks, but they're getting longer rests than the teams they're about to play, especially with the Timberwolves versus the Thunder. I'm wondering if
Pacers what have
the
3 or 4
team,
extra days?
yeah, and I think the Timberwolves have like what, a week or so,
Close to it.
more than a week. Yeah.
I don't think they do.
Um,
I'll look it up while you're talking.
the I think it will start to come into. kind of a question that people had about the college football playoffs too with the bye weeks is like if the rust will be an issue for teams just coming out flat in these opening games. That's something I'll be paying a lot of attention to is seeing how the Timberwolves and the Pacers come out in these opening games. If they're rusty at all, if they start slow, come out flat, that's something I'll be interested to see. As far as who's winning the series,
So as for
I
rest,
like am really struggling.
the obviously Thunder ended on Sunday. The Timberwolves ended on Wednesday. The Knicks ended on Friday, and then Pacers Tuesday. So Pacers have like a 3 day rest. Timberwolves 4 day. That's not like I mean that's definitely a lot. It's much more than a 2 day rest for the Thunder. Again, screw you, Adam Silver. But like it's not so much so that like the Thunder had I think 9 day rest after that Grizzly series.
Yeah. And then they came out in game one. They didn't necessarily come out flat in game one either, but they lose game one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just with terrible execution down the stretch. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as for this series, man, I really
Yeah, really.
this is I am stumped with who is going to win this series. I think I'm gonna. I'm not confident. Whoever I say, I'm gonna feel like the other team's winning.
Mm,
And this might be the hardest time I've ever had picking a winner for a series. And I'm gonna say this, and then it'll be like a 5 game
yeah, right.
blowout. I think I'm gonna take the Knicks in seven, man.
Damn. Okay. Next to the
As
worst team in
high
the
as I
East.
am on the Pacers, and as low as I've been on the Knicks, it's just something special about this Knicks team for some reason. It just kind of feels like they've
It's
kind of embraced this like underdog type of mentality. They went all in on this team.
mm,
Um, I'm as good as Halliburton is in the clutch and has proven to be this postseason. I'm still not betting against Brunson in the close game. They have home court advantage with one of the best home courts in the playoffs so far, but the Pacers also do. So I think just I'm taking the Knicks in seven with very little confidence, but I think the Knicks make the NBA Finals.
all right. Knicks in 7. I got Pacers in 6. I kind of lean 7 more so, but I don't know. I'm taking 6. I just the way that they like just bodied the Cavs too. Like I really if it was Cavs Knicks, I would have taken the Cavs. I think I'm assuming you would have as well. Um, and
Yeah,
like and so I mean the Pacers just dismantled one of the best teams that in years, and I don't think that the Knicks are gonna even with the injuries, dude. Like I just trust the Pacers. That's really what it comes down to
that's
more than
that's the thing I will say. I
and
was
plus
much more confident in the Celtics beating the Knicks than I was the Cavs beating the Pacers because I did think
no
there
doubt
was a
about that.
chance that the Pacers could beat the Cavs.
Mm,
I never thought in any world that the Knicks
no,
would beat the Celtics, and I thought the Celtics were better than the Cavs. So all this like, ooh, who's better than who beat who stuff
mm,
kind of doesn't really matter when it comes down to it because it's all about matchups. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think the Knicks match up pretty well. I think there's a lot of advantages on both sides here in some areas. I'm interested, man. This will be a
yeah.
series
It's
I'm
gonna
glued
be
to the TV for every game.
no doubt about it. It's gonna be a high flying, super good offensive series. It's gonna be a classic. I'm really excited for it. The one question I have written down here is in this series, if the Pacers come out and Halliburton out, like basically, all right. So what does Halliburton have to do this series to pass Jalen Brunson in your rankings if he hasn't already? I personally,
I don't think he
it's
physically can.
really because
I'm super high on Brunson.
okay,
Borderline. Ooh, that might be crazy. I
where
would
are
have
you
to
at?
think, but like
Where are you at?
borderline top five
Like
player in the league. I have
that's
Halliburton probably like borderline top 10 player. I'm thinking now though, Brunson's probably like 7, 8 range. Halliburton's more like 12 range for me.
I've seen a couple guys talk about this, saying like about how good Halliburton's been recently and like where you can rank him, whatever, whatever. Like maybe maybe I just like not watching Brunson enough or something. I feel like I watch a lot of Knicks games, but I really feel like Halliburton is very close to passing Brunson, and I almost want to say he's better, but
Really,
like I won't
I would
because it's so unpopular. But like I really do feel like it's super super close.
I have like a tier difference between them, honestly. I like I said, I'm very high on Brunson.
Mhm. And
He's
rightfully so, because
such
Brunson's
elite
awesome.
scorer.
Yeah. He's one of the
Um,
best 1v1
and I don't
scorers of
think
all time.
the big weakness with Halliburton is he has these games, like we've talked about multiple times, where he's not really aggressive. Brunson doesn't really have that issue. Brunson is constantly like pretty one of the more consistent players in the league in terms of consistently performing offensively. And because of how good he is in the fourth quarter, not to say that Halliburton isn't also one of the best in the league in that case, but I think Brunson's just on a plane of his own with maybe like one, two other guys in the league. And really, and you're that top tier all time when it comes to how well he plays in the fourth quarter. And just he's one of those players that is just feels inevitable when the fourth quarter comes around. And that's something I don't, that's something I value very much. Both of them very good playoff players, so there's not really a difference there. But I would definitely lean Brunson pretty strongly when it comes to those two.
All right, we'll move on to the Western Conference Finals. We got Thunder versus Timberwolves. How many games? Who wins? And why? I could kick it off if it's my team. Um.
Yeah, you can go.
So yeah, I I still have Thunder slash Nuggets here. Like I've done nothing, no notes, no nothing. And I'm
Yeah,
actually going to live decide how many games. Honestly, I'm closer to 5 than 7, and it's like maybe bias or whatever. And I'm
seven
sure.
really.
No, I said I'm closer to 5 than 7. Um, I think I would say I'm gonna say 6 to give respect to the Timberwolves, but
Oh, I see what you're
yeah, like I
saying.
think it'll end like if it'll more likely than 5 than 7 is what I'm saying because I just I think that the Thunder are just a bad matchup kind of overall for the Timberwolves. Um, we have the defense to match up against the Ants or Julius Randle. We have the size to match up with him now than last year we wouldn't. And if I mean the way J Dub played in game 7, if he can carry that momentum into this next round, like again, him and Chet are gonna be the most important players for this season for the series because Shea's going to have a good series, um, and like you hope Ludor and like Caruso's gonna have a good series as well. You hope Ludor cannot have those horrific shooting games like he did this series, but if Chet and J Dub are playing well, or even give you like a couple good games, this series could get out of hand. The way that they can get in transition, the way that they can force turnovers, um, the way that the Timberwolves are prone to missing threes and having like just having bad shooting games. The Thunder aren't really that prone to bad shooting games, and so like you can't really have those, especially in the Western Conference Finals. At this point, it's like good games or you lose in both of these series. Um, and I trust that the Timberwolves are going to have more likely to have bad games and are going to have more bad games than the Thunder. Even in the Thunder's bad games against the Nuggets, they even won one of them because of how good their defense is, like offensively bad games. And so I think I don't know. I just trust the Thunder more. This team just kind of feels destined a little bit. Like I know it's not like a legitimate thing, but it kind of just
what if
feels. What do you say?
what if the Knicks are destiny this year? What if the New York Knicks?
I I told my grandma this earlier. I pray that we see the Knicks in the finals because it is a sweep. We would win in 4, and I promise you that. It would be so
Knicks
ugly.
in seven.
Yeah, if we lost the Knicks,
Believe.
I I don't even, dude. I'm like 30 minutes from the city. Like I don't even know what I would do. All my friends are Knicks fans, so that would suck.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I do want to go to New York City for one of these Knicks wins versus the Pacers because it looks like so many people I know have been going to the streets of New York and to these celebrations, and
their
it's so fun,
city is awesome when they win, dude.
so
Like the
fun.
streets are just flooded with Knicks jerseys
Dude,
and
somebody climbed
fans,
the
and
the,
it's
the
I.
MSG billboard. Like it's like ridiculous.
I I love, and this is crazy that I love Knicks fans.
No,
For
I get
how
it.
big of a market they have, their
They're great
fans are
fans,
like
so passionate.
fairly likable. Like Celtics fans, racist, um, and like That's not even like a stereotype at this point. Like players have straight up just come out and been like, "Yeah, dude, this is like the most racist fan base in the league."
No.
Lakers fans are just annoying.
Mhm.
But like
Yeah,
New York Knicks
the
fans, man, I
Milwaukee
like
fans.
really
Yeah,
love Knicks fans.
and plus
Uh,
they've had so many years of bad play that like they've suffered through it all. And at this point, you almost feel bad for them. Like such a big market
yeah,
team, nobody ever signs with them, and then they
which
get
is
so much.
insane. They're like a cursed big market team.
Yeah, like every single player, the Zions, the Giannis's, the KDs, the LeBrons, year after like every single offseason, whoever the big name guy is, it's oh he's going to the Knicks, he's going to the Knicks, he's going to the Knicks, and then they never do, and then they just run
Nope.
it back with like whatever team they have. Obviously now they have Brunson, so they don't really need those other good players. But yeah, the Knicks are just a really good fan base. But let's go back to the Western Conference. That's
Yes.
um
Um,
Thunder Timberwolves. How many games and why and when?
it feels disrespectful to say 5, which is what I had coming into this. I
It
think
does. I think it's I really do like, and I feel like I've
I'm
been generally unbiased through these podcasts, and I don't know if you feel the same. Like I feel like I'm mostly
I would
unbiased with the
agree.
Thunder.
I feel like I've agreed with most of your takes about the
Yeah.
Thunder.
I just I don't think the Timberwolves are. I really do like this Timberwolves team. I had them go to the Western Conference Finals. I feel like they're a good team, like no doubt about it. But this Thunder team is just better in really every aspect. I think that we're going to be able to match them on the boards. We're going to be able to match their rebound or their defense, and I think we're going to be able to outshoot them consistently. And we have the better star power. We have the deeper star power too. I trust J Dub slash Chet more than I trust like Julius Randle because they're like, who would you say is if you had to predict this series, who's going to be the third best offensive player for the Timberwolves?
Ooh, that's ugly.
Exactly.
Nas Reed.
Yeah, like it's a guy maybe off the bench. Maybe it's Jaden McDaniels, which like maybe.
Mhm.
And
McDaniels has
so
been really good this
no,
playoffs, but
he has been really good, but like he's going to be guarded by Shea, and like they match up pretty well. Um, I just I don't trust that. Like I trust that J Dub slash Chet can match Julius Randle and probably will exceed him, and then the other guys just match up well too, like Hartenstein versus Gobert, or uh, like I guess Dort, Mike Conley, like whatever the comparisons are scoring wise. I trust that we're gonna be able to outscore them. Uh, yeah, this team is
I'm
just it's better.
I'm thinking Thunder in like a close 5 is what I had originally. I think I'm just gonna stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think originally I had the Pacers in 7, and then I kept flip flopping. I'm gonna take the Knicks there, but I'm fairly certain in this stance that it'll be like a close 5, kind of similar to how the Timberwolves lost last year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not to the same extent of closeness, but I think they'll be competitive throughout most of the series. I feel like they were pretty competitive with the Thunder during the regular season, even with Anthony Edwards being pretty terrible in a majority of those games. I think Edwards will be better in this series, although I do still think he'll struggle. He'll probably have his worst series of the postseason. Randall will probably have his worst series of the postseason. Gobert will probably have his worst series of the postseason. McDaniel's worst series of the postseason. It's just
Yeah,
a whole new level of defense what they're playing, and that's saying a lot because the Warriors are one of the 5 best defenses in the league.
I feel like you just look at like the way Caruso guarded Jokic, and that kind of just sums up like this next series. Like if Caruso can shut down Jokic, like what is going to happen to the Timberwolves? That's just one guy shutting down the best player in the world, arguably the best offensive player we've ever seen, one of the best playoff risers ever. And like if he's able to do that to him, we honestly only have to worry about Anthony Edwards because if Anthony Edwards is good enough to have a really good game and win you the game, but I don't trust Julius Randle to be good enough to have a really good game and win you the game. Like if Ansett being bad,
And
I think they lose. But if Julius Randle's bad, you could maybe still win.
something I saw at the end of Game 5 against the Warriors from Anthony Edwards, he was actually doing it throughout the entire game. Just these like stupid turnovers where he's like
Loose.
dribbling super loose,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like doesn't even care where like to take care of the ball, super loose handle. If
Yeah.
he does that against the Thunder, he's going to be watching the backside of a blue jersey the entire series,
Mm-hmm.
and he can't do that. And like we said, he's developed as a playmaker, but he's not fully developed in that area yet. So it's going to be
Yeah.
pretty hard for him to be like an offensive hub for them this
Mm-hmm.
series if he's catching double teams, which he will be most likely. Um, yeah, I don't see a world where the Timberwolves win this series. I think it'd be very difficult for them to win this series. They would need an ethereal series from Anthony Edwards to pull this off.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm looking at this
yeah,
previous game.
Thunder just match up with them. Thunder just match up with them very well.
In every game in this past round, the Timberwolves had 15 plus turnovers, and in the last 3 games, they had 18, 19, 20. The Thunder in this previous game had four. I mean, I know it's a game seven; they blew them out, but like four
Oh yeah,
turnovers.
yeah.
Like I, that's just I just trust that
Shea
like the
was doing
Thunder.
a great job of taking care of the ball today.
Fantastic, yes. Like, and he was passing. Dude, the Thunder were passing so well today; it was awesome. But it's just I just like that's another aspect is I trust the Thunder to protect the ball a lot more than I trust the Timberwolves. And for as good as Julius Randle has been, I think there is a chance that we see him slide into his old habits a little bit in this series if he isn't getting his way. Like if he isn't just able to big body his way into the paint, which if he's guarding Chet, he might be able to do a bit. I mean, if Chet's guarding him, but like if he's getting stopped a lot and like he's not getting, he's I don't know, he's 2 for 12 in a game or something. He might just like start reverting back to his Knicks ways a little bit and start chucking threes a bit more, and potentially shoot them out of a game or two. Um, the one aspect in the series that surprisingly does worry me a little bit because if you asked me even a week or 2 weeks ago, I would have like not had this worry at all. Um, is the coaching? I think Mark Dagnall in this past series got outcoached pretty easily by Adelman, um, and that was shocking to me. I thought Mark Dagnall was like, I know he was like relatively unproven in the postseason, but I thought he was one of the best coaches in the league already. Um, and for him to get outcoached that way, like just consistently have zero answer for zones, making kind of weird subs at times, and then like Adelman just outcoached him. And I said in the first round that I thought JJ Redick was a better coach than Finch, and I thought that that was going to be a reason why the Lakers could win that series. I think that Finch could potentially outcoach Dagnall in this series. So it's going to be a big series for him to revive his coaching, the opinions on him because I'm seeing a lot of people online saying pretty similar things.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him pull Dort more last series. I felt like Dort was getting way more minutes than he needed. And, Dort makes plays outside of scoring and shooting the ball, but
Yeah,
you have so many players on your bench who can defend at just as high a level as Dort can.
mm-hmm.
Maybe not just as high, but like defend at a very high level, especially within the context of such a good defensive team.
Yeah,
And guys like Case and Wallace Caruso, who's a better defender than him, who I thought honestly was like should have been starting for them for the series. But
mm-hmm.
um, I would have liked to see him pull Dort more. I'm interested to see what he does with his rotations against the Timberwolves. I think this will be a pretty physical series, so
Yeah.
Dort probably should play a little bit more. But
Dort's going to play a lot in this series. He's a good ant defender, and so I think that'll be big for him. But I was surprised about how little Isaiah Joe played in this Nuggets series. When we were having shooting struggles, like Isaiah Joe is our best shooter off the bench, no doubt about it. He's a plus defender by every metric. And so for him to get a DNP in this last game, and like, I mean, he got like garbage minutes in I think 2 different games. It was just relatively surprising. I didn't think that. Like I told you before the playoffs started, I thought Case and Wallace was going to be the guy to fall out of the rotation before Isaiah Joe was because Case and Wallace's 3 point shot is less likely to fall than Isaiah Joe's. I understand why it was Isaiah Joe to a degree because Case and Wallace was such a good defender this series, but I don't know. I think Isaiah Joe will fall out of the rotation still. Like I think he'll just not be in the rotation anymore. And then after that, we're down to like Jay will probably not see many minutes this series, which I guess will be a little bit of a change because he played a decent bit in this Nugget series. So then you got like Casey Wallace, Caruso, and Aaron Wiggins off the bench, and that if they're running like with 8 guys, that's probably relatively pretty likely for most of these games.
yeah, I agree.
And
I'm
the Timberwolves already
wondering
run with 8. They run with just um, Nikhil Alexander Walker, um, Naz Reid,
Dante and Reed.
and Dante DiVincenzo. Yeah, that's all they do off the bench because like after that, they've got like a bunch of rookies and Joe Ingles.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I'm interested to see if Jalen Clark gets any play this series, depending on how the Shea
He's
thing's
played
going. But
he's played like nothing in this postseason outside of like some garbage minutes in the Lakers series.
I doubt he'll see the floor, but based on how well he guarded Shea for that small stint he played in the regular season, I'm wondering if they'll try it.
I mean, if there's like a blowout in one of these games, if I'm Finch, I 100% try it. Even if there's 1% trust he has in him, so what? We're down 20 in the fourth quarter and Shea's still out there. Let's throw in Jalen Clark and make if oh now we're down 25. Okay, well we're gonna lose anyways, you know.
I think shooting variance will definitely play a big role in this series. The Thunder have just been really not able to hit their shots outside of a couple of games this postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will probably turn around. Be interested to see if the
We'll
same
definitely
is the
benefit.
case for the Timberwolves because they were also one of the best shooting teams in the regular season, and it feels like they just have been building houses all postseason.
Yeah.
So I think we actually might get more offense this series than a lot of people are expecting. Um, I think shots will start to fall on both ends more, and I think that's why it'll be like a close 5 games. But at the end of the day, there's not much more I can say. I just can't bet against the Thunder with the personnel differences in the series.
Yeah, and I trust the clutch offense and defense from this Thunder team a little more than I do the Timberwolves. I mean, in the clutch, it's mainly going to be Shea versus Anthony Edwards, but the Thunder just have more guys you can go to in the clutch. I mean, it's the same thing as before. Who's the Timberwolves' third best player on offense? It's Jaden McDaniels, you know, and like if he's going to take the game winning shot because Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle are covered, awesome. I'm living with it. Whereas like if J Dub or Chet are taking those shots, you're a lot more worried than Jaden McDaniels. Um,
J Dub will be interesting this series too because he's just
yeah,
been super inconsistent, and I think that
I
will
wouldn't even say
probably
inconsistent. I would
continue.
just like straight up bad. Like out of game 3 and then game 7, he was like actually awful in this series. Outside of offensively, defensively he was very very good. I would like, but just mainly offensively is when I say things like that is more so what I mean. He he was awful offensively against the Nuggets in those 5 other games, and then in the Grizzlies series, I don't remember him being specifically awesome either. So
Uh, I think he'll
and
probably
he was
continue to
bad last
be.
year too.
I think that's might just be at this stage of his career who he is in the playoffs. I
A little
don't
bit.
think he'll be very good this series.
Yeah.
I thought Chet was really good last series. Really
He was
amazing
awesome.
play finishing, like always. He's able to take mismatches off the dribble. Uh,
He was very hesitant
I think
to take
I think he'll have a good
threes
series.
in this in game 7. There were like 2 or 3 different moments where
Yeah, I think that was
there's
probably
so many guys who
nerves.
did this, but like I think so too. Especially in that first quarter, you could really really notice it. Um,
Mhm.
but then once they started getting a roll, especially once Jokic went out, like that 8-0 run, if Jokic doesn't go out, I do wonder if this game is any different. I think we still end up winning, but maybe that run doesn't happen so soon because once that 8-0 run happened, like the game was almost over at that point. I saw one Nuggets fan tweet out literally saying like Jokic is out and we just went on a run. This game is over. Um, and it really was.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of the patterns we've seen with the Thunder will continue outside of the poor shooting. If Jalen Williams is really struggling because of a wrist issue, I would imagine that that's probably not going to change because he probably won't have time for that to heal if he's playing every game.
Yep.
Um,
And by the way, every single game
but
for
yeah,
the schedule of this series is every other day. So
surprise,
yeah,
surprise, Adam
yeah,
Silver.
there is no rest here, unfortunately. But I also
But
understand
this
it because
this
like it
series,
is only 2 series, so like they do want to just do every other day. It makes sense, but it is kind of annoying
uh,
because like these guys do need rest.
this series will probably be the one I watch. I will still watch all 5 of these games. Obviously, well, assuming it goes 5 games, I still watch all these games. Obviously, um,
You're just
I
less glued
definitely
to every
won't
game.
be as glued to this as I will be the Pacers Knicks series, but
I get it.
I'm interested to see. There's a lot of question marks for the Timberwolves based on the defense they're playing, and it's kind of a bad matchup for them. So I'm interested to see how Finch approaches this, and I'm interested to see what they do.
And I you have to imagine that's very copycat zone that the Nuggets ran. Um, yeah, I mean the Nuggets
They've got
sort of
personnel that can execute it much better than
yeah,
the
no
Nuggets
doubt
could
about it.
too.
And the Nuggets sort of laid the groundwork for how to beat this team to a degree. So like it's a lot of you got to get clutch wins because you're not blowing out the Thunder. Nobody will. And so I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. But I will say I mentioned it in that first round podcast. This Timberwolves team is awful in the clutch. At least in the regular season, they were, and they haven't really had many clutch games in the postseason. So, um, like if that comes back to haunt them, and like we see it again from the regular season, they just continue to be bad in the clutch. It wouldn't be that surprising. But anything else from this Western Conference Finals? Game five. That's 5 games for you. I say 6, kind of leaning 5 though. All right.
That's all I got.
All right, one more break, and then we can talk about the draft lottery for a bit, and then get on out of here. Alrighty, so we're back with the draft lottery coverage. Obviously, this was like on Monday. Kind of annoying. We I think I posted ours on Sunday, the podcast, and then draft lottery was Monday. It's a little bit unfortunate, but pretty crazy. I watched it live, and I was just as shocked as everybody else. Like um, the video got released afterwards of the actual ping pong balls, like the draft lottery. Each team gets one representative, and there's a few media members and stuff there. And so they announce the way they do it is they announce 4 numbers, and that's the 4 teams that are in the running for the first pick, and then they announce whoever got the first pick. And so if they announce like 1, 2, or 3, that's going to be like the teams like the Jazz, the Wizards, the Hornets, whatever. And then if you get like 14, that's like the Spurs or the Bulls or Blazers, like any of those teams are on there. And so I don't remember the exact numbers they said, but it was like 14, 12, 10, and then like 4 or something. So obviously that was Spurs, Mavericks, Sixers, Hornets, and for a lot of people were posting like their rankings of teams that most deserved to get a first pick. They most wanted to see if get a first pick, whatever, whatever. Especially in this class because Cooper Flagg is such a generational, blue chip type guy. Um, and then I think at least for me personally, Mavericks were probably my least favorite team that I wanted him to go to because Nico Harrison doesn't deserve it, and also like they just blowing up that team. They deserved to run the course that was about to run, which was like Kyrie's out for all next season. Anthony Davis first option is guaranteed injuries and not that good of play, and then like they're just gonna be a maybe play-in team, competing type team. And now they get Cooper Flagg, and like they're gonna be right back in the
Contender.
race. Yeah, like they. I
Nico
was thinking,
Harrison played the long game.
yeah, rigged, probably. I, I'm not like I do kind of buy into like a few of the like Patrick Ewing, that was rigged. Um, like
Patrick Ewing is like 1,000,000% rigged. Like I've
yeah,
never seen a more obvious rigged
yeah,
draft
like the
lottery.
card hitting the thing, like that was totally rigged. Um, and then like there's just so many examples. There's also plenty of examples of it not being rigged. Like uh, so a bunch of guys going to teams that, like why would they ever want that guy to go there? But then like the Pelicans getting Zion right after Anthony Davis leaves, or Derrick Rose to Chicago, his hometown, or LeBron to Cleveland, his hometown, or
Here,
they're like the Spurs getting Tim Duncan the 1 year David Robinson gets hurt and misses games, and they win like 20 games. It's just
Zion and Cooper Flagg are an example of why you should trade your superstar to the Lakers because Adam Silver will reward you kindly with a generational prospect if you do. But in all seriousness, something that pissed me off is there's one team in the last 3 years that has been within one lottery ball of getting Victor Wembanyama and Cooper Flagg. Can you guess who that team is?
Victor Wembanyama, and it's the Hornets. No,
It's the Portland Trailblazers.
oh damn.
Nice. We were one lottery ball away from both of them. So that pissed me off. Uh, as far as the
Yeah,
actual lottery,
and also
I was pretty
one.
sure the Spurs were going to get it. I thought they were going to just have like this Wemby Flag thing in San
I
Antonio.
thought
I
so
was like,
too.
wow, this team's
When they announced all 4, I was like, I ran through it in my head. I was like, all right, so obviously being from Jersey, hating everything Philadelphia, like Philly would just be awful. I would hate that so much. Obviously Dallas would suck so much too. I didn't hate like I wouldn't have minded him on the Spurs as much. Like everyone hated it so much because they don't deserve it, which I totally understand. They just got Vic. They just got the rookie of the year. They don't need it at all. But like that would be so fun. That would be a
that
dynasty.
team would be ridiculous.
That would defensively would be unreal. Um, but yeah, like I wouldn't mind Spurs, and then I didn't really want him to go to the Hornets just because like the Hornets have the worst culture ever, and like I don't like. I mean, maybe he goes there and
Just a
changes it.
boring team.
Yeah, like I don't know how much. I mean, I'm really high on Cooper Flag. Like I think he's like gonna be as good as Tatum, but
Oh
I
yeah,
like yeah, like I mean, I don't think that's. I don't even know if that's me being high on him. I think it's probably like the average thought, but
I think he'll probably be. We can get into it, but
yeah, I just I don't like even if he goes there like they was hurt and stuff like it's just I didn't love him in Charlotte. Damn, just him going to Dallas just sucks, man. Did not want that at all.
I don't really mind him going to Dallas at all. Honestly, I think it's really funny how Nico Harrison has just been like, if this truly isn't rigged, I really find it funny how Nico Harrison's going to probably be able to keep his job out of this.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Crazy. I mean, he wasn't even that bad of a GM before this season, and then this season he made two of the worst trades I've seen in years, trading away Luca and then trading away Quentin Grimes for Cody Martin. He also, I think he added a first round pick on top of that. He gave it the Sixers a first round pick as well. And Cody Martin was out for like almost the entire season because he had some sort of injury. So it just
it was a
maybe,
disaster class.
or maybe Caleb Martin. I don't. It was Caleb Martin. I
It
think.
was Caleb Martin, yeah.
Same difference, both bad. But we also we can get into the Mavericks getting Flagg a little more, but the Jazz fell to 5. So the teams that were all the worst teams: Jazz, Wizards, Nets, Hornets. Um, for the however many Pelicans too. For I think like the fourth year in a row. Somebody I just watched a video yesterday. I didn't write all the stats down. I probably should have, but they gave out all the stats of like how the flattened lottery odds are kind of not great because every year since they've done it, 2 out of the worst 4 teams have fallen out of the top 4. Um, the worst team has never gotten the
Yeah,
first pick, and then I think like they're I forget the percent. It was like 75% of the time or something. The worst teams have fallen to 4 through 7, which again, Charlotte 4, Jazz, Wizards, Pelicans, Nets is exactly what happened.
I was thinking about this the other day, and I was kind of mocking up an idea for how it could be done differently. I definitely think the NBA has to stick to a draft lottery because, unlike the
Definitely.
NFL, yeah, it's just the NFL. You can draft a guy at 32 who's still like pretty much almost guaranteed to be a starter consistently for your future. Like he's
Lamar Jackson
chance
already.
he could be a star. Exactly. And like pretty much everyone you pick in the first round of the NFL draft is like guaranteed to be not guaranteed. It is like a good chance that they're going to be a good NFL player.
Yeah.
When it comes to the NBA, there's not only is it that there's not as many positions and there's everybody has to do like something on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
There's not as much talent in the draft. So a
When you get
lottery
into the
just
lottery,
makes
half the
more.
time it's like,
Yeah, there's just like you don't really see as often like second round or like later round guys.
yeah,
You
there's
don't
only a
really
few
see
teams
late
like,
first round guys even. Like it's
mhm.
just not very often.
Yeah,
But
like the
I do think they
Thunder
have to
are.
change it
Sorry, yeah,
so that a play-in team cannot get the first pick. First of all, I think if
I
you're a
agree.
team that's like in playoff contention, you should have a 0% flat,
Yes,
no chance to get the first pick.
if
I
they want to
think
make the play-in into
worst
like,
teams.
I want to add to that. If they want to make the play-in into like a legitimate, real, like you want to contend for the play-in, you want to make the playoffs type of thing, you should not get the best of both worlds, where I can make the play-in
Mhm,
and be 1 game away from facing the Thunder in the first round, like the Mavericks were this year, and then get Cooper Flag a month, not even a month later. The Mavericks, the Kings, the Heat, the Bulls, all those teams, the Hawks, none of them should have had any chance of getting any lottery lottery.
0. I would change that. I would make it so the 2 teams that lose out of the play-in from both conferences, that's 4 teams with no chance. So automatically 10 teams get their odds boosted. And then I think the 4 worst teams in the league, if they're gonna stick with this system of 4 teams get like those last chance at that last lottery ball, those 4 teams should have like the 4 worst teams in the league should have incredibly increased odds at
Yeah.
like I'm talking
Well, isn't it
like
the top?
20%, like 80% of the total odds should be the 4 worst teams in the league. It doesn't have to be NFL based where it's like your worst record guaranteed first pick, but it has
Mhm.
to be the four worst teams all have equal chance at
I
the
agree.
top overall pick 'cause it's just
Because
dumb.
yeah, because like you're looking at a team, the Hornets, for example. They literally have been bad for our entire lifetime. They have not won a
I don't think
series
they've
in
ever
our
had the first
lifetime.
pick.
No, they did once. They got Bryn Hill. No, shoot, who was it? I know it. I know it. I know it. I don't remember. It was a
Larry
bad one.
Johnson,
Larry Johnson. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I could
1991.
see. I could see him in my head. I couldn't remember it. But yeah. What was that in the '90s? Like,
1991.
yeah, like that was 34
34
years
years
ago.
ago.
That's not like you're gonna tell me that the Hornets just don't deserve the first overall pick for 34 years. You literally can't build your team. Like the Celtics got Jalen Brown and Tatum because they traded away Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett like 15 years earlier. Or it wasn't 15, it was like 5 years earlier, but whatever. Uh, it's just these teams like the Jazz or the Wizards or the Hornets or the Nets. Nobody wants to go sign with them. So the way that they improve their teams is through the lottery. And so these flattened odds is literally hurting their chances at getting those top picks and then improving their team. Which, like, if you get the fourth pick, the fifth pick, sixth pick, whatever, you could still get good players. There's plenty of good players who've been taken at those picks in history. But you're not getting Cooper Flagg. You're not getting Wemby. You're not getting like whoever Zion or Paolo or so on and so forth. All like you can name the last 10 first round picks. Almost all of them have been elite, great players that have actually changed their team's outlook and their future almost in year one. And if you're getting pick four, you're getting like whoever. I mean, the Hornets last year got Tajon Salon, which was a reach, but like it's because they were picking at six, and so now they got a bust who's like borderline out of the league in 2 years from now. And so it's just a little unfair. Um, I don't know if unfair is the right word, but like it sort of is. The potential for these good teams to jump them, especially in a year like the Celtics could tank 1 year and just get their good player, and like now they're back out of the lottery. But none of these teams have had that opportunity because they can't get the first pick. I don't know if 20% should be it, but like 17, 18% makes a lot of sense to me because it shouldn't like
I would go even higher, honestly. Like, I would think like the dead last worst team in the league should have like a 25% chance, like
that feels a
at the
bit too
first pick.
high. Because I think that would even make it worse than it was. Like, like, all right. So basically, you're not. Nobody's gonna be happy with whatever you do, whether you increase the odds or keep the flattened odds. Because if you increase the odds, you're going to run into a situation like the process Sixers, where we're gonna be bad for 5 years and like just get the first pick, get the second, third pick every year, and then we're gonna like have a whole new young roster, and then we're gonna be good. Um, that honestly didn't even really work for the Sixers because they kept missing in the draft, but and like they kept getting hurt and stuff. Um, but like I mean, they had two first overall picks. That's pretty crazy. Uh, but they just, somebody would probably do the similar thing if they do increase the odds and like the first overall pick is 25, 23%, whatever. Somebody would tank their entire season and win 10 games. But like, I would rather that happen than see the Jazz finally commit to their tank after like 3 years where they should have, and like year after year they suck and they can't get into like can't get that top pick. Same as the Hornets or the Wizards or whoever. I mean, the Wizards are kind of on the come up a little bit, but like nobody's going to the Jazz, nobody's going to the Hornets in the free agency. They need this lottery, and Silver's screwing them.
Yeah, and that's why I think it should be like, especially for the dead last team, just really, really boosted chances. Because I really don't want to
14
see
is so low.
14 is just such a low amount, and that's why we've seen like these last few years, none of the worst teams ever get any of the top picks.
Yeah,
So I don't like the Hawks. The Hawks had an insane jump last year too, and nobody like really cared that much because the prospects weren't as exciting last
yeah,
year. But
yeah.
the
The
Hawks jumped
worst.
like from one of the
They,
worst odds to first pick.
they jumped, I think, 11 picks, but or it was either 9 or 11. I don't remember, but nobody cared because it was for Ricochet. But and like we're seeing consistent jumps year after year where if it's not the first pick, they're getting second, third, fourth, and it's like the team that was 500. Like what? They don't need the first pick. They don't need the second pick. We're seeing year
It's
after
bad.
year. I mean, what the Pistons go on a 3 or 4 year streak of being the worst team and ending up with the fifth pick. You know, like now the Jazz are the worst team and they end up with the fifth pick. I don't know what the lottery ball is with the worst team being five, but that's another problem too, where it's happened like almost every single year since the flat odds have happened. There's serious actual work that needs like revision that needs to be done with this lottery system. I'm not sure what it is. Like honestly, what might be the most fair, and I saw some video I watched said this, and this would never happen, is like a committee making the decision. But obviously, then that would be a whole thing of like, how are you going to decide where Wemby
Absolutely
goes?
not.
Yeah, like one of the like
Absolutely not.
people would
That's
find
the
their address and post them on Twitter if like Wemby
that
went
is
to
a
their
horrible
rival.
idea.
But it's almost like the most fair though, because like these teams are just getting screwed, and I guess it's just fair because it's fair for everybody. We all like have the same odds or the same likelihood, whatever, of getting these first picks. But it feels like they literally don't. If if the teams are consistently falling in like to five or out of the top five.
I would say a committee is, in my opinion, like the worst possible thing that they could do because that is just going to cause so much backlash. No matter who they pick, even if it's the right pick,
Yeah,
it's just a bad idea. It should definitely be completely random. People will never really believe that it's fully random. Like if you actually like hooked me up to a lie detector and asked me, "Do you think Adam Silver rigged the 2025 NBA lottery?" I would say no. Like I
yeah,
don't think any like I don't think he rigged it. I don't think we've seen a rigged lottery outside of like 1985. There's a couple other ones that are like pretty questionable, but outside of like Patrick Ewing, since that was the
uh-huh.
first one, that one
Yeah.
was definitely rigged. But
Apparently, the Mavericks representative at the lottery draw whispered to whoever it was next to him and said, "We're gonna get the first pick. Just watch." Which I don't know, a little interesting. Um, I mean, he could just have been saying like, "Hey, I bet you we're gonna get it," but like then he ended up actually getting it with a 1.8% chance, which I haven't said yet. I want to point out the Bulls and the Mavericks had the same record, and so they tied for the who got the 1.7% and who got 1.8. They flip a coin to decide who gets that tiebreaker, and the Mavericks won it, so they got 1.8%. Cooper Flagg was a coin flip away from being a Chicago Bull, which would have been so much cooler than being a
Josh Giddey shouldn't have made that
Maverick.
that half court shot against the Lakers.
Another reason why that trade sucked. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
dude,
lost
Cooper Flag
Caruso
in Chicago
and
would have
Cooper
been
Flag,
fun.
and now they're about to give
Cooper
Giddy
Flag in Chicago would have been
$30 million.
really fun. I really like him in Dallas. I still think it's going to be fun. I honestly, personally, don't really mind him going there. It's just really, I think it's really funny. I get like a really big kick out of the Nico Harrison jokes.
Mhm.
Like, oh, this mastermind that he just knew all along,
Yeah,
and but that team will be super exciting. Super exciting to watch right away. And I think for Dallas fans, it's like kind of a I think there was kind of this conspiracy going around that this team's going to get relocated to Las Vegas, and I think now that you have Cooper Flag in Dallas, there's just no way that that's happening. I think if we ever see a team in Vegas, it would be kind of a two-team expansion deal where Seattle and Vegas come back to the league, and we see just whole brand new teams, and then we'd probably see Memphis move over to the Eastern Conference. But
maybe Minnesota
um,
or the Pelicans too.
yeah, one of those three teams. I'd imagine Memphis because they're literally further east than some East teams, but um,
Yeah.
I think it's super interesting. I think it's going to be super fun to watch, and
If
they're going to be one of the best defensive teams in the league right away.
right away, yeah. And once Kyrie comes back, I know initially they were hoping January. I don't know how realistic or likely that is at this point. I haven't seen any updates, so I really don't know. But like this team is going to be really good, and if Cooper Flag is good day one, which he is going to be, they like might just go right into next season and be not like when I say contending, I don't mean necessarily for like a finals, but they're going to be in the hunt for the playoffs with the other like 11, 12 teams in the West. I don't they
I
might not
say
make it,
probably
but like
like
they're
a
going to be
top
in the
16
yeah, at the very least they're going to be a play-in team next season likely, unless like AD gets hurt.
at the least. Yeah, if they're
I mean
healthy,
they were one this year and they made the
Kyrie
finals
is
for
going to
half the
be
season.
out, but
Yeah.
I think they definitely get out of the play-in. It'll that will of course depend on like how things shift in the West, which there's going to be
Yeah.
so much going on this offseason. But I think once Kyrie gets back, that's like a really, really
Scary
good
hours.
team, and they have a championship window pretty much opening up very soon because of Cooper Flagg, the contract Cooper Flagg's going to have, and how good he's going to be so soon.
Mhm.
Like I think Cooper Flagg is going to be like one of the best players to ever play this game. Like he's gonna be like a peak Kawhi level player in my opinion.
I agree.
Um,
And I think like
he's gonna
his
be
off
like a
his
top three player in the league.
and his offense potential is higher than peak Kawhi. Like his defense could be
I
very
agree.
comparable. Um, I think he's just a bigger. I think he's a better shot maker, and he's also a lot bigger than Kawhi is. He's like 2 inches taller. I don't know how much more he weighs, but probably a bit more. He's a better rebounder than Kawhi is as well.
Better
Um,
you say better shot maker? I'm assuming you mean like coming
College,
out of
yes, yes,
college.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I don't mean peak Kawhi to current Cooper Flag. That's kind of
yeah.
yeah. Obviously, like peak Kawhi is one of my favorite players ever. He is insane, but I think Cooper Flag's potential for like 3-point shooting and his rebounding, like I said, is better. His defense at his peak should be like a pretty comparable level to Kawhi's. His build is a little similar. Like I said, he's a little bit bigger, so that could help him guard more fives than Kawhi was able to. It Cooper Flag is
He's gonna
just
be
is
so
special, man.
much fun to
I
watch,
got to
man.
see him. I went to his game against Syracuse this year, which hilarious was his worst game of the season. But like that was super cool to see him play, and so I tried to convince him to go to the Thunder. He must not have heard me, but maybe he'll sign there when his rookie contract's over. Um,
Yeah,
but
5 years, 400 million.
yeah, I'm down. Trade him, J Dub. I'm down. Damn right now. But yeah,
um,
anything else to flag for
he's
the Mavericks?
I'm just super excited, man. Like we're the two probably the future two best players in the league are both playing in Texas, which could be like a fun little rivalry there.
Yeah, same division.
Like it's just so like the Mavericks. It goes from being so over for you.
Yeah, right.
How could you possibly trade Luca out of everybody, and then their new white hope has arrived
Three in
in
a row,
Cooper
dude.
Flag?
Dirk, Luca, Cooper
That's
Flag.
three in a row, and
Dude, like
then
they were supposed.
man,
I
I
mean,
just can't
not
believe
the
it.
fans necessarily, but like just the organization was supposed to suffer. Like trading Luca is the type of thing that sends you to like the darkest depths of NBA hell for like 10, 15, 20 years. Like that's the type of thing like when I made a video on it and I compared it to the Babe Ruth. I mean, we had never seen a trade like this ever. But I was like, maybe the Babe Ruth trade. And then the Boston Red Sox didn't win a World Series for 100 years. Like
Mavericks
that's
are gonna win a
that is what the Mavericks are
championship
supposed
probably
to do.
within the next 10 years.
Yes, and probably sooner than that. Like that's not supposed to happen. Um,
It's bad,
yeah,
man.
it's unfair to say the least. Uh, but yeah, here's an interesting question. If let's say you're Nico Harrison and you know you're getting the first pick, so like you know you're getting Cooper Flag if you trade Luca, are you doing it?
No,
I
because
I
here's the thing.
agree, but I think it's just an interesting question because I do think there is a bit of thought that should go into it.
Here's the thing. Cooper Flag, like obviously younger. From a win now perspective, the roster they have now is like just as good, probably better than the one they had with Luca. Now that they basically traded Luca for AD and Cooper Flag. If you think about it, like not
Yeah,
actually, but it's like kind of
Max
what it
Christie,
feels
yeah,
like.
please respect him.
And Max Christie. But Cooper Flag again, it is like a 99% chance he'll be great, and the 1% that he isn't is probably if he gets hurt. But he's still not a full guarantee. You have Luca. That is a full guarantee. One of, at his peak, the five best point guards that's ever played this game. And you just made a finals with him with the roster that you had intact and young players on your team that are still getting better, like Quentin Grimes, who you also traded away because you're an idiot. But
So
Luka Doncic, what we saw 2022 to 2024 is one of like 20 best peaks probably in the history of the sport and one of the 10 best peaks offensively in the history of the sport.
that's a fair.
So that probably better than that. That's a guarantee.
Yeah,
Like Cooper Flag isn't a guarantee. So for that reason alone, I would
that's fair.
not do it. But I think there is a chance that Cooper Flag in his prime could be better. than Luka Doncic has been because he's able to affect both sides of the floor so well. I think he'll probably be the second best player in the league in his prime. Um,
Yeah,
that
and
is
a
better than
huge a
Luka,
huge thing for
so
him,
it'll be interesting.
a huge part for Cooper Flag is he doesn't have to be the best offensive player for them day one. Like he's
Oh,
gonna be their best defensive wing. Um, but like he can kind of grow into his own a little bit. He's gonna be able to have the ball a lot because there's no dominant guard. So like he's gonna get the shots that he wants. Um,
mhm.
but he's like he just he's all the pressure's not gonna be on him, and that's gonna be big for him to be able to grow for that first half season because I mean he's gonna need to be able to learn to be the sometimes the go-to guy, sometimes the second, third best player on the court. Like that, this team around him is very good. They've got
Mhm.
elite size. Cooper Flag is
Lots of
playing
experience
the
too.
three. Like this team
Mhm.
is going to be massive. Um, and defensively, they're so rangy. They're going to be able to force a lot of turnovers. They're going to get a lot of blocks. Their interior is just going to be almost unscorable on at times. It's going to feel like. And if Kyrie comes back, they're going to have potentially three big shot makers if AD can somewhat get his shot back. But like he is to a degree a big shot maker.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably over.
Yeah, probably will never be a good 3 point shooter again. But like Kyrie obviously has proven to be a good shot maker. Hopefully he's going to be coming back fine from his injury. And Cooper Flag in college was very proven to be like clutch, great player, and I don't doubt that he's going to be like just that in the NBA. Yeah, we've talked a very long time about Cooper Flag. Anything else?
I I just want to point out one more thing. I do like what you said about there's not going to be a whole lot of pressure on them. When these guys like a LeBron or a Wemby or a Zion or whoever it is
Mm-hmm.
that gets picked into these cities that kind of have or not even these cities, into these teams that have no one around them, and it's kind of all on you to. Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
it's kind of lonely. Like it's you by yourself, and you kind of have to build your own legacy with this team. Cooper Flag is going to get to come in right away and learn from like. There's not a lot of people that you can count in the NBA that have more value to give a new NBA player than Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. I mean, two of the most tenured, experienced players in the league that have
champions.
won championships. They've
Both
played
play with
with the
LeBron.
smartest player of
Yeah,
all time. Like they have probably so much stuff that they can teach him. Cooper Flag going to the Mavericks is
Jason
a
Kidd is their coach
nightmare.
too, dude. Like he's NBA legend.
Yeah,
He's
another yeah. Like him going to the league or him going to the Mavericks is a nightmare because this is like the outcome that makes him the best possible version of
yeah.
himself if
I
he
just
hits his full potential.
I hate that he went to the West. He was supposed to go East. Like
That
just
was what I was yeah, I wanted
like
him to go to the
it's
East. It'd be nice to have a
he
face in the
the
East, but
Spurs get the second pick. Like it's so unfortunate that both of the top prospects are going to the
we
West because the West is already so good.
we need Boozer and I how do you pronounce the other guy's name? I know he's really good. I
Trey
never
DeMonte.
pronounce his name. Mansa. They both need to go East next year. Like we get no more talent in the West. Giannis has to get traded to the inside the
We are
East.
done with the
Please,
West.
we are done with the Western Conference. Please, there's like 13 playoff caliber teams here in a couple
Yeah,
years.
I
It's
they really like they need expansion ASAP because like it's so
100%.
many of
Seattle
the
and
West
Vegas.
teams. Yeah, like so many of the West teams are pretty young too. Like outside of like the Warriors, who I mean realistically are still going to be contending for like 3 more seasons, and then LeBron retires, but the Lakers still have Luca, so they're still going to be contending. Like there's not that many
Mhm.
old teams that are on the like on the come down. So like the Rockets
It's really
jumped
just the
into
Warriors.
yeah, the Rockets jumped into that second seed this year. It's gonna be tough for like you would think like maybe the Spurs or that kind of team this year. It's gonna be tough for them to do that. Like they might jump into like the
Mhm.
sixth seed or something. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Oh, one last thing I want to say about Cooper Flag is like kind of adding on to the not having much pressure on him and stuff. He's got a similar situation to how Tatum came into the Celtics, um, where like he's coming into an established
Yes.
team
Yeah.
already, where they've been competing, they've got legitimate real vets that he doesn't have to be the best player day one, and and he is my comp for him, and so like it's very fitting that he goes to the Mavericks. I will say because of this almost like mirrored teams that they have going on here.
I agree. Yeah. and you could see with Tatum, like him getting coming to that situation right away. He was
That's
playing with Kyrie right away too.
that is true.
Or no, one was it 1 year after?
That was
I think it
2018. He
might have
got
been one
drafted
year after,
2017. 20, he got drafted 2016. So yeah,
a couple years
it was
after then. But
yeah.
he comes into the league and he gets to play with a good team right away, and
Yeah, I mean, he went to
he gets playoff
Eastern
experience
Conference
right away,
Finals
and that's
bunch.
so
So
huge.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's so huge for a young player to get that much experience early.
mhm.
So
And if Kyrie
I'm super excited.
if they make the playoffs and Kyrie's back, if they make the playoffs, Kyrie is coming back next season because I don't think they make the playoffs without Kyrie. But
I agree. I don't think they do either.
yeah, so like if they end up making the playoffs with Kyrie, like Cooper Flagg's going to be the third, hopefully the third best offensive player on that team. So it's like again like a similar situation of Tatum where you don't have to be the best player in the playoff series, and if you lose, it's not going to be all on you. And even if you play bad in that first round series and you lose, or that second round series and you lose, whatever, it's not really on you because you're just a rookie. You know, like it's
Mm.
really a perfect situation for him. We're moving on though because that's enough. Spurs get the second pick. Maybe my favorite player in this draft, Dylan Harper. Shout out Rutgers. Also got to see him play. Um, I'm so excited for him to be with Wemby. I really hope they don't trade this pick because I really want him to be paired with Wemby. If they do trade, like if they do a Giannis trade, trade De'Aaron Fox because Dylan Harper is going to be better than De'Aaron Fox, and I promise you that.
I think so. Here's where we kind of get to the point in the draft where I don't actually know anything about anybody because I haven't scouted anybody yet.
Second pick.
So I can't really provide too much insight into these players outside of Cooper Flag. I haven't
Okay,
really got to the scouting portion yet.
it's
I kind of do that like a couple weeks before the draft, but
I don't. All right, so I don't really want to talk like scouting more so, just like more so reactions. We spent 30 minutes talking
oh,
about Cooper Flag there. I more so just want like because that's more so like that's the biggest steal. I kind of just want to talk like reactions to the teams and um I don't know just like I can I guess reference sort of. I don't even know that much. I know like 10 of the players decently enough to talk about them. So yeah, like just what's your opinion? Spurs jump to two, probably taking Dylan Harper. I'd be shocked if they don't. Do
from
they do a
what I
Giannis
do
trade?
know about Dylan Harper
Mm-hmm.
is he's more of like a and this could literally just be wrong, but
Oh,
he's like a rim attacking guard. He's like puts a lot of pressure on the rim. Not
yep,
as much of like a jump shot shooting point guard, but
somewhat,
I,
yeah.
I won't really know. I won't
He's
really know
he's
much until I actually scout him out. But
um.
I'm
So
interested. I wonder.
you're gonna have a fun time scouting him. He's a good player. He's a really good passer. He's really smart. Um, like he was able to dissect defenses really solidly in his rookie season. Where like when you watch this Rutgers team, you will see it is Dylan Harper, it is Ace Bailey, and it is a bunch of actual garbage. Like this
That
Rutgers
I
team,
did know.
they had the two best prospects in. All right, guys, outside of Cooper Flag, they had two of the top three prospects in the country, and they missed March Madness. That's like Ben Simmons LSU level of like insanity. Where like how did that end up happening? And Ben Simmons barely even played at LSU, right? So like um yeah, it's so I'm never ever going to get over the fact that they missed March Madness. I will die thinking about that. But I got to see both Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, like so cool. I love Ace Bailey. Honestly, Ace Bailey might be my favorite player in this draft. It kind of goes back and forth between those two. Definitely very biased in that take there, but they're both just super fun players. And Ace Bailey's like a super unique player. I like not really many players I've ever seen like him. The way that he can hit any single shot he shoots, contested, uncontested. What I mean, he doesn't even take uncontested shots. His favorite shot is like your hand in his face, poking his eyes out, and he'll still find a way to like turn around mid range, splash it over and over again, which is definitely a little
Like
concerning.
Carmelo Anthony type.
Yeah, a little bit. Um, Carmelo was better in college, no doubt. I mean, he won a national championship, but Carmelo was like better at getting space, getting open. Um, I don't. I mean, I don't. I wasn't even born yet, so I don't like. I don't remember how good Carmelo was at defense in college. Ace Bailey's a really solid interior defender, like a really good rim protector. He's a good rebounder as well. He would consistently lead the team in rebounds. I mean, I think he measured out at like 6'8" or so, 6'8" ish, where like people
I
were
thought
saying
he
he
was
was.
6'10".
Yeah, everyone was saying he was 6'10". Ace Bailey height was like this was one of the biggest question marks in measurement NBA draft history. Like dude, he's been measured like 3 times, and all 3 were different. That's how crazy it was. Um, so yeah, he's a good player. He's a very elite shot maker. He like possession ends here kind of guy, no doubt about it. Um, but like not in like an MPJ way. Like he doesn't really take a lot of bad shots. And assuming he goes to the Sixers, which I'm hoping he goes to the Sixers and not the Hornets because it's such a different outlook for him if he goes to the Hornets. Then like it's just such a worse situation. If he goes to the Sixers, like it's so good because he's not gonna need to be the guy on the team. He's like the 4th guy, and so he's gonna be able to take such better shots. Especially learning from Paul George, who was like his absolute idol. Um, it would be a perfect situation. But there's a lot of talk that they take VJ Edgecombe out of Oregon, um, which I don't. I mean, it would make sense, but I don't love the pick for Philly if that's what they do. Um, yeah,
VJ Edgecobe out of Oregon.
yes, good player, very good player, elite defender, and like a really good transition, like fast rim runner type guy. But Spurs, yeah, Dylan Harper. It would be really cool if they got him. I think. What's your opinion here? Do you think that they trade that a Giannis trade happens here, or do you think that they stick and pick?
I still am on the boat that Giannis isn't going anywhere. I don't think he's going to get traded. I don't even think he's going to demand out.
They,
I think they'll stick with the
they're
pick.
meeting next week, or I guess this week. So we'll see. The Bucks
That'll
and
be
Hornets.
interesting to follow.
Yes.
I think obviously if Giannis becomes available, second pick, gotta go. Don't care who it is, how good he is.
Yeah.
You
It's
gotta get
second pick.
Giannis.
I mean, the only way they don't trade the second pick is, and this is like I sort of almost have a rant with this of it's Stefan Castle who, like, I I don't even think Stefan Castle's that good. Like I think he's good, but like he's when I say that good, like to the sense of how hyped he's getting from NBA Twitter and just like general talk. I'm seeing people say he's untouchable in a Giannis trade. Stefan
No,
Castle,
I'm giving up the second pick and Castle to get Giannis. You can have them both.
like the only I would lean Fox over Harper just because I think Fox like he's hit his ceiling already. I feel like I don't think he's gonna
Oh,
be better.
100% has.
Yeah, so I don't think he's ever gonna get better than this, which isn't
He's already
bad.
27. Yeah.
Yeah, he would be the 3rd best player on the team, which like that's a fantastic 3rd best player, the best 3rd option in the league. But I think that Dylan Harper has a higher ceiling than Fox, and so I would go with that. But I also would understand if they keep Fox because if you're bringing in Giannis, you're contending day one. We're trying to win this year's finals or next year's finals, and you're trusting a rookie point guard to lead your offense. It would just be kind of like I would totally
Yeah,
understand if they didn't want to do that. But on the other hand, the Bucks don't own any of their picks, and if they trade Giannis to the Spurs, they still don't own any of their picks unless they do a 3-team trade where they get some of their picks from like the Pelicans or the Blazers. So if they want
I'm
Dylan
gonna stand
Harper
back.
or they want Stefan Castle, they're gonna suck a whole lot. And so like they need Fox if they want any chance to contend, which they could trade for Darren Fox, they will not contend. But yeah,
I
that's
don't
just
think the Bucks would even want De'Aaron Fox. I think they would definitely want Castle and the second pick, and probably more because
yeah.
Giannis is worth more than
They've
that.
got the Spurs have so many picks. They've got the Hawks picks, they've got their own picks, like they've got a lot.
Like when I'm picturing a Giannis trade, I'm picturing like 10 first round picks worth of value for this guy. And you'd have to give up the second pick, you'd have to give up Castle, you'd have to give up probably like 5 more
Yeah, like
firsts.
Devin
Another team would have
Vassell.
to come in and give their picks back. Like,
Yeah, I'm thinking like Devin Vassell. I'm thinking, dude, I'm so confident that the Pelicans are in this trade somehow because they own the picks, the Bucks picks, which I saw a report this morning saying that the new Pelicans front office is going to try to work it out with Zion and keep him there. Which, okay, whatever. But I think like they could do a Zion Giannis flip, but I guess that might be dead. But like their own picks going
how-
back to the Bucks, they're not going to get a better player than Zion, so it would make sense. And like they have so many other good pieces there if they could just stay healthy, whatever. But yeah, like a Castle second pick, the Pelicans give their own picks, and then like Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, maybe Sohan, like one of the 2 of those guys of those 3 I just named, all
they're
their
going
own
to have to
picks.
gut like a lot of the young players off their roster, their picks. Another team, like I said, is going to have to come in and give picks back. Hopefully not the Blazers. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't think he'd go to the Pelicans, although the Pelicans do have a lot they can give them. They can give them Zion and their picks back, but
Mhm.
it's just going to be like you have to give up so much to the point where it's almost not worth it.
Yeah.
Because,
But at the
at the
same
same
time, like,
time, like if you
yeah,
draft
you got
Harper,
Wemby on his rookie
you have
contract. This
three
is the
guards.
mhm,
Like, what do you do if you're the Spurs and you have all those guards? It turns into like a Blazers type situation where you have these
a little
guys that
bit.
you have to play because they're older, but there's a ton of young guards that
Yeah.
have to play to get better. So
Dylan Harper
I
can
don't
play
know.
the two. Obviously, Castle has played the two. Um, but yeah, I just like I don't love the fit of Fox, Castle, and Harper, and so
Just a weird, funky fit. Sounds like.
yeah, I mean like one of them, like two of those, like Castle, Fox start, and then like Harper six man, but they have a solid bench already with Johnson and Sohan if he starts or not. Like they kind of weren't too sure about that this year. So it's just like they have a decent enough bench where like they don't need that six. It's just it's a weird situation. I think one of these three guards could be traded this offseason, and I almost hope they are because like for Dylan Harper's sake, we can move on though because I think Giannis gets traded, but he has done this charade for 5 years now. So like if he doesn't get traded this offseason, I'm giving it up and I'm never thinking he's traded. That's what I think. Like this is the year for Giannis to get traded, and if he isn't, then he's
I agree.
accepting he's retiring. Sixers at 3. Um,
I think trade the pick.
really? For
I
what?
think if the
What do you
Sixers
think?
pick someone, they got to try to win now.
Mhm.
I'm thinking like try to put a trade together for Kevin Durant and do anything in the world that you can to try to get rid of Paul George, whoever will take that contract.
So a Kevin Durant for the third pick, you have to match his salary.
Could give him
So
Paul George. Maybe the third
you're
pick
giving
has that much
Paul
value to
George the
somebody.
third pick for KD. You're getting fleeced. I get Paul George had a
You
bad
got to try
season,
to
but
win,
like
man.
I I I don't know how much Kate like if we're being real, Paul George had a bad season. I don't know how much like it's gonna turn around.
Paul
Like
Paul
Kevin
George
Durant
is
is
like
not.
done.
I disagree.
Paul George is done.
I disagree.
He's done.
I don't think like this was a horrifically bad season. I don't think he'll be this bad next season. And so trading both for KD would be like that's bad. I mean, you need to get off that Paul George
Well,
contract,
that's
no
just like
doubt.
a starting idea, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, just one
you could
pick.
get more in there from other teams. But I
I
think Kevin Durant fits pretty well with the Sixers. The issue
wait,
is
wait,
like the
Booker.
third pick doesn't fit your timeline. I don't think Booker's going anywhere. I think the
I
Suns
I
view him
kind of
as the
agree.
franchise guy.
I kind of agree.
And the Suns are screwed because they can't get off Bradley Beal's contract, or
What
they
if
can't get off his contract because they gave him a no trade clause, and he's not
yeah?
going to want to go anywhere.
What if
So
they do a Paul George, Bradley Beal, KD third pick swap?
that's nasty, man.
That's some ugly, horrific, bad contract trading right
That
there.
is just
It's
like
just
so much moving
it,
around.
and it's a
But
weird situation
I
because
think Paul George is like completely cooked, full blown, done in the NBA. Like he's not ever going to be good again. Um, I don't think we'll ever see him being like like a useful player on a good team ever again.
damn, why is
I
that?
just think he's done. He just like the scoring isn't really like he's not nearly explosive enough to be handling the ball the way he does anymore. I always thought his handle wasn't really that tight. He
Mhm.
just it was super explosive, so he was able to blow by people. Um, now when I see Paul George dribbling the ball, it hurts me.
Yeah.
The jump shot was not there this year. I don't think that will end up coming back at any point.
Mhm.
The defense not there anymore. I think with how much of his athleticism is dipped, I don't think that's coming back. And because he's not really be able to create advantages the same way he used to be, all of this is really coming down to how much the injuries have worn on him at this point. But he
Yeah.
can't create advantages like he used to, which means he can't really score because he can't get as open as he used to. The same defender he used to be. Like, and obviously, like he was still good because he's going from MVP and Defensive Player of the Year candidate in the same season. So like he has to fall pretty far to not be useful anymore. But I think we've officially gotten to that point where the injuries have taken such a toll because there's been so many of them that
Yeah,
there's just no coming back from. There's just no coming back to where he used to be at all, and there's no coming back to being a useful player on a good team at all. So me personally, I don't really see it being an issue throwing him into a deal as like a cap. It's like matching salaries. I don't like to me that just seems like a throwaway player on your team that you want to get rid of.
that's
That's how
fair.
I'm viewing it when I see his trade value, and I think GMs would agree with that.
I do think that they're going to try to offload him this offseason. I just don't like know how realistic that is. He's making 50 million in his age 37 season. Like
That's
it's
what I'm
really
saying. To like to get KD, if you want to match his salary, I think you'd have to throw the third pick in there as like the sweetener for the deal. Otherwise, no one's going to want to take Paul
dude.
George.
The Suns are going to have Bradley Beal and Paul George. Oh,
So nasty.
that would be that's
But
and
they'd
then
have the
and Devin Booker. That is the most redundant team of all time. Um,
Suns have completely killed themselves. Like they put together a team that was so obviously like ball don't stop roster,
yeah.
and it has completely not worked.
Mhm.
As I think almost everyone like I remember the Suns got this roster together, and everyone was like, "Oh wow, this is like top 3 team in the West material." And I was right away like,
I
"This
was pretty
team
high on
is
them.
like." You were high on them. I
Yeah.
thought that team was like not good, like not even close to as good as the Chris Paul Suns teams were,
Mhm.
because there's there's one basketball, and you have 3 guys who
That's fair.
Kevin Durant can be a good off-ball player, but Booker and Bradley Beal not nearly as much as he
Yeah.
can. So
I need to re-listen
I
to
don't know.
my
I just always
rankings
thought it was going to be
before the
funky.
season. Um. All right. Well. All right. We can just go through like the other things pretty quick. It stayed mostly what was expected, like from the bottom up: Spurs, Hawks, Bulls, Blazers, Rockets at 10. Like,
You can't get lucky one time. Come on,
yeah,
man.
right. Raptors, Nets. I like all that stuff was expected. Pelicans. Um, yeah, the team. So all right, outside of because we never talked about this, outside of your own team, what team did you want Cooper Flag to go to the most? 'Cause there were like 5 teams that I really wanted him to go to, and obviously none of them happened. None of them were even
That's tough.
acceptable. For
I would
me,
say you can go first. I'll
yeah,
go look at the lottery and see what team I'd want to.
I really, really loved the fit on the Wizards. I'm super high on this Wizards team,
That's
as
what I
you
was
know.
thinking.
Like I really like some of my favorite young players in the league are on this Wizards team. And so I just like they're such a good defensive team, and I
Oh
think he
yeah,
would have just fit in so perfectly there. Like there were, I liked the Raptors. I think that would have been a little interesting, just because like this current team with like their big three with RJ quickly Brennan Ingram is like not that good. Like they're not gonna amount to much. Um, and then outside of that, I liked the Blazers fit, although I never it was unlikely. I That was one of my favorite teams for him, and I liked the
would
Bulls
have been
because
nice.
I think the Bulls having a really good player like that's good for the NBA. Wait, what about you,
By the way, Flag, Kamara, Klingon defense in their prime.
dude?
Nobody's
It
scoring on that.
it would have been
Um,
so good. That like the Blazers' defense outlook would have been. I mean, it's still good now, but if you add Flag to that,
yeah,
like a legit offensive go-to
ridiculous.
guy, you guys would have been a playoff team next year, like potentially.
100%. Um, I actually did have an answer to this. I just forgot that because we were just talking about them. The team that I wanted to see Flag go to before the draft started was Philly. I know I just said that doesn't really match timelines
Cooper Flag
because
isn't a timeline.
but with Cooper,
He's
that's
a
the
good
thing
young
with
player.
Cooper Flag is like he's good right away.
Yeah.
So
If we're being real,
because
he is the
I
timeline.
I really want to see Embiid, man. I really want to see Embiid get one shot to win a finals. And Cooper Flag is like the ultimate chance at doing that, especially with the contract that he would have. Um, That's the team I really wanted to see him go to. If you're talking more like a team that's not ready to win right now, I would have probably said the Wizards, just because I kind of like the young core that they're starting to put together down there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they got a
I
really
also
nice team
think he
though.
would been. I know you were saying you wouldn't really like the Hornets, but I feel like him and Lamelo would have been really fun to watch.
Um,
And Miller, like I feel like that's just such a strong young core
I
coming
like this
together for a
Hornets
team
team.
that never.
Yeah, I like this Hornets team. It's just like the two things that I didn't like is one, they literally can't stay healthy, which like now we're on year whatever of it, and like they cannot stay healthy. I believe that they won't be healthy at this point. And then the second thing is that their culture is just horrible, and like getting a Cooper Flag can totally reset that like almost like very quickly. But we're so many years into this where like the new coaches like bi-yearly, and like it feels like management doesn't care because they're willingly paying and getting Miles Bridges and stuff like that. So like they clearly are fine with this bad culture. That's not like I don't think that Cooper Flag would like fit like I mean he would fit there basketball wise, but like it just I don't know. I just didn't like the fit in the sense of like they just don't seem like a Cooper Flag team. But he would have stayed in Charlotte, which would have been kind of cool, or in North Carolina rather, not Charlotte. But yeah, I mean he's a Maverick, which is just disgusting, terrible.
That's definitely not a team before the draft that would have been like, oh yes, please give Nico Harrison Cooper Flag. But I
I did
really
one.
don't mind it.
I did a like the mock simulator thing, and he ended up going to the Sixers in mine. I don't know where I had
I
this
would have
guy.
liked to see that.
Yeah,
Would have
I
very much
like
liked
for
to see
as
that.
much as I dislike this, like honestly, I don't really even dislike the Sixers that much. For as much as I hate the Eagles, like the Sixers are kind of whatever to me. Because I really like Embiid, so like it's I don't really hate them as a team, but like he would have fit there so perfectly. That would have been, especially if Embiid's healthy, like that team's defense would be
Probably winning the
just
East next year.
they would, they definitely would. Like I mean, last time when Embiid was healthy, I guess not the last time, but like the last time they had like a really full, healthy, good core, they won the East, and then obviously got upset by the Hawks in the second round, which they should have won the East that year, or at least made the conference finals. That was the easiest walk ever. They had like they played the Bulls in the first round, and then they had the Hawks the next round. Terrible. Anything else from the
And
lottery?
Simmons, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
No,
Ben Simmons, so
that's
good.
all I got.
Um, all right. Well, I mean, there were a few other things I wanted to touch on, like the WNBA just started, but I don't know. I might make a clip at
Caitlin
some point
Clark,
and talk about it.
masterclass to open the season.
Yeah, honestly, have you watched any of it at all or paid attention to it at all? Are you a WNBA fan?
I watched I watched the Fever game because we just had it on while
Do you have time to talk
uh,
about the WNBA for like 5 minutes?
I could talk like very briefly about the Fever game. That's the only one I watched though.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean they blew him out. Caitlin Clark had a triple double, which I jokingly tweeted like MVP year two, but like literally she could win an
Probably
MVP
could happen.
like within the next 2-3 years, and I wouldn't be shocked at all. She's so good.
Oh, easily.
And this yeah, and
Easily.
this
I
Fever
expect her to win one by that point, honestly.
yeah almost. And this Fever team they upgraded it pretty well this offseason. They got Dewana Bonner, who like super old vet, she's like 35 or something, but that was a big pickup for them. They had like a really young team last year with Clark and Aaliyah Boston leading it, and like it's cool that they got some vets for the. They got a few bench vets. I don't remember them all though. But yeah, this Fever team they were awful last year, so they outlook this year should be a lot higher. Especially Clark looks. I will say this: she looks a lot bigger this season. Like she gained a lot of muscle, which is huge. Because I was talking to my grandma about this earlier too. Because she's a pretty big WNBA fan. The college season ends for like women's and men's. It ends at the end of March, and then the WNBA season starts in the beginning of May. So like you literally have a month
Makes
off.
no sense,
Yeah, which it's
honestly.
not even a month off because you have training camp and then you have preseason and then you go right into the season. So like there is no time to rest or gain muscle or even mesh with your team. Like it's awful, terrible scheduling. But obviously they have to because
Makes no sense.
it would mess up with the NBA and NFL. Like it makes sense why they have the season there. It just is unfortunate. But so getting to go from like September, October, whenever the season ends, all the way back to May, it's such a huge offseason for them to grow and improve. Which I mean, no shade to uh, um, Angel Reese, because I feel like she gets hated on way too much for the type of player she is, which is like she's not even like that good of a player for the amount of talk she gets. But you would think that she would try to improve in the offseason at all, and it seems like she didn't touch the gym floor a single time.
I I tried so long to defend Angel Reese because it really kind of annoyed me how hated she was.
Yeah, it was like it's just like a lot of it's racist. Like people are like
A
just
lot of it is that,
yeah
but there is like to some extent the people that are hating her for that reason, like you're just stupid. But
yeah yeah.
like
I don't
she
agree with
is like a pretty. I can understand why some people would legitimately not like Angel Reese. She looks, at least for now. I don't like. It's been one game into the season, and I don't know how much I'll watch. But compared to last season, a lot of the same issues.
yeah
Finishing is terrible, completely out of control.
yeah
No control over her emotions either. Like blew up over Caitlin Clark over like a pretty
which
fairly simple foul.
yeah that foul was like she Caitlin Clark talked about it in the post game saying like it's a basic foul. She's wide open under the rim, so I fouled her so she'd get sent to the free throw line rather than like a free open layup. And she like I mean she hit her across the arms like maybe it was a little hard, but like then you're gonna get up and like try to charge at her and say like "f you" like and like a few other like cursing sentences. Like it's just like what are we doing? And then later in the game, uh oh I forgot the name, but she like one of the Sky players literally like fully like just like 360 like tossed a Fever player to the ground, and it's just like what are we doing? This is the same stuff that happened last season between like this is a real rivalry between these teams now, but it's just like strange. You don't see
Mm,
this in the NBA at
That's
all.
the rivalry feels very forced on Angel's end because it honestly at this point it kind of feels like Clark doesn't really care.
Yeah,
Um,
she left it in college.
like last year Angel Reese had that play where she completely like full wind up swatted Clark over the head,
Yeah,
knocked her to the ground like a clear like damn near intentional flagrant foul.
yeah, it was.
Um, and like Clark's not getting up and charging you for that. So compared to like the foul that happened yesterday,
Mm.
it's not really even remotely close. It feels like Angels kind of held on to that college championship that happened 3 years ago.
Well, to be fair, like if you were Angel Reese, like you're look. So Caitlin Clark is the greatest potential and skill player NBA WNBA has ever seen, and so like, and she's bringing in so much media attention and like all this stuff, and so it like if I'm Angel Reese, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm leeching on as long as I can because she's getting so many followers, media attention, interviews, whatever from this. She's getting so much money off of this rivalry that happened 5 years ago in college. It makes a lot of sense, and like for as they're division
it
rivals,
makes
they're gonna be playing for however long Angel Reese in the league.
it makes sense from a business perspective. But at the same, like if that's the reason you're going to do this, if you're going to try to be the villain of the WNBA and like hate this like hero that everyone's hyped up for the last few
Yeah,
years, you cannot turn around and be like, why does nobody like me? Which she does constantly.
yeah, you have to own it.
You wanted to be the villain. You have to embrace that role.
Yeah,
Draymond
like
doesn't go around saying, "Hey, why
mhm.
don't people like me?" He embraces the fact that
Yeah,
people hate him.
yeah. After he like jump stomped like some like King Kong shit on Domantas Sabonis, he didn't go in the interview being like, wait, you guys were upset by that? Wait, what? Like, we're like Angel Reese like, yeah, I get that I fully knuckle punched her in the face, but so like she did hit a 3 pointer, which I will say is pretty interesting. I do wonder if that will be
She was doing that during the three. It was like the 3v3 league that they have during the off season.
yeah.
She was
So
shooting more threes. She looked better during the off season, which is why it was kind of weird why she still looked like same old Angel Reese
mhm.
on
so
Saturday.
yeah,
But
I am interested to see if she can like. I mean, she was shooting like half a three a game last year, and it was like on awful like below 20%. I'm pretty sure. So I
mhm,
mean, if she could be like 1 3 a game on near 30%, like that'd be huge. It's a huge difference. The one really funny thing, last thing I want to say about this game because it was like such a blah, it's whatever, is in the post game interview, one of the reporters said something about like in the off season, did you work on your like offhand layups because that one layup you went up with your right, and her response was
next question.
no. Her response was I'm right handed.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes, no, she said that. Yeah, I saw that clip on Twitter the other day.
It's like so
That's
funny.
just bad. It's
Like
bad.
that's so funny because that's just
Dallas,
like,
by the way, got the first pick in both drafts. Now that I'm thinking about it,
dude,
they got the
I'm
stud
a
of both
Wings fan,
drafts.
bro. I'm like I didn't really have a WNBA team until this season. I've always just kind of been like a general league and player fan, but I've always loved Enrique Ugunbowale, the best player on the Wings. Um, she's like people compare her to Kyrie. She's just like super sick, and so like I've always just like liked the team, but never really cared that much. And then I was like I loved Paige Beckers at UConn, dude. I've been such a fan of her since her freshman year,
Yes,
and
I'm
so
so glad she got a ring before she
oh, me too.
graduated.
She's so like so deserving, and so I really wish Caitlin Clark would have got a ring, but like so be it. And so the fact that Paige Good was cool, and so like her going to the Wings, that's who I'm gonna rock with now. The other thing from the first few opening days was the Lynx Wings game. Obviously, the Lynx were in the WNBA finals last year. Nafisa Collier was awesome. She had 34 points, which was the at the time the most points in a season opener in WNBA history. And then later that night, Kelsey Plum faced the new team, the Golden State Valkyries, and dropped 39, I think, or 37. I don't. Let me see. 37. And then that's the new WNBA record for a season opener. So, I mean, two huge scoring games, to open the season, two record breaking. And with how new of a league the WNBA is, it feels like there's like record breaking or team record breaking games like almost every night.
Aja Wilson was just destroying
Mm-hmm.
records last year. I would see
Yeah,
it constantly on my
yeah,
feed.
double doubles every night and stuff. So it's super cool that like with the amount of growth that's happening in the WNBA right now, I can only imagine that it's sort of similar to I don't even necessarily know an exact decade, but like maybe like the 70s or so in the NBA. But I almost want to say like the
It
90s.
It
Like
kind of feels like the '80s, and I Reese and Clark were
80s is
probably
Bird.
hyped up
That's
to
when
be
the
this like
Legends came in.
Bird Magic rivalry,
Yeah,
but I don't think Reese is going to hold up her end of the legendary rivalry that we
she is
want to
neither
see.
Magic nor
So
Bird.
no, it's like
Caitlin Clark's actually both of them
it's
as
going to be
well.
like yeah, it's going to be like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird versus Joe Dumars, and that's what it's going to be like for the
And
entirety
Andre
of this next
Drummond.
decade.
Yeah,
But, like, that Fevers game was packed, like, they're full stadium.
no, they sell out
That's
every game there.
really yeah, that's really cool to see, and I hope that continues to be a trend because the games actually are starting to get, like, a lot more interesting than they used to be.
And out of like I think they have 42 ish games is the entire regular season. They like I think 39 of them or something are on national television, which is super cool. And if you
Mm,
look at at least this is from last season. I remember like a lot of the teams, their like game by game home attendance would be like 10,000. It would be like 9 to 12,000 every game, and then the Fever come in town and it's like 20,000, and then
mhm.
back down to 10, 10, 10. And so like her impact, it's almost like we've never seen it in almost any sport because like from our lifetime, all of these like the MLB, the NBA, the NFL, all of these sports are developed for 100 years, 80 years, whatever now. And so there's not really like even like a LeBron coming in. He's just a really good player. It's not like he like revolutionized
Yeah.
the sport, in a way of like making it more like that much more popular. Whereas Caitlin Clark is literally like building this league almost in a popularity sense. Um, yeah, it's super super cool. It must be like so much pressure though for her. I can't even imagine.
By the way, shout out the New York Liberty, Sabrina Ionescu. I
How was
had
the
no clue
banner?
that they
Game
picked
one.
up Natasha Cloud.
Yeah, dude. Oh my
Um,
god. What a, I should thank you for mentioning that because I would have forgotten. Huge game one, dude. Huge. I think she was the first player to have like 25 and 5 and 2 and 2 or something in a
she was
BMX
on
of a new team.
wasn't she on the Lynx last year?
Yes, I believe yes.
She played them in the finals. I remember she was going ridiculous in the
Yeah,
last game of the finals. And unfortunately, the great Sabrina Ionescu had one of the worst big game performances I've ever seen from a player in my life, but
yeah. That was
still got the win
crazy.
though. So
Still got it. But
that was hard to watch.
yeah, raising the banner in Barclays was pretty cool. I knew a couple people who went to that game, and so that was like they posted it and stuff. The picture was really fun. I am planning on
By
going
the
to
way,
at least one WNBA game this summer because the Wings play the Liberty in like the beginning of August. But I want to go see a Fever game too because I really want to see Caitlin Clark.
who were the last teams alive? It's okay now. Minnesota and New York made the finals of the WNBA last year, though. Is that foreshadowing
So I
for
don't.
NBA?
Natasha Cloud was not on the Lynx last season. I like I knew that she wasn't. She was on the Mercury, and before that, she was on the Mystics for like 10 years. You're thinking of I can't remember her name. Whatever. Sorry. What was your question?
She wasn't. Who cooked the Liberty last year? Was it not Natasha Cloud?
It was Nafisa Collier. I mean, she was electric. It was like mainly her on that team. I watched like almost all of
Let
that.
me.
I have
No, I recognize her. It was.
I don't remember. I'm
I
blanking.
swear it was somebody else on there. Hold on.
Ebony.
Now I have to figure this out. This is
Yeah, yeah.
basically because I do remember Collier. She was really good that game as well.
I'm losing my phone. I have two monitors here. I could have been using this other one the whole time.
What is this woman's name? Maybe it wasn't her. I swear I recognized Natasha Cloud from the playoffs last year, though. I guess not.
Bro, I look at the 2024 roster and it's bringing me to 2025. Come on.
Okay, wait. There's something right here. Doesn't show their photos though. Had to be one of the higher scorers on their team. She was really good. I'm just tripping. I don't know.
Courtney Williams.
Oh, you know what? Might have been Courtney Williams.
It was. It was. Yeah. Yeah. Which
Oh wow, she's averaging. She had 25 points the first game. Not sure how I got those two mixed up. I
yeah, she was
swear I
she was
recognized
hooping most
Natasha
of the
Cloud's
season.
name
She
from
was really
somewhere
good.
last year.
Yeah, 13, 10, and 5 in tonight's win against the Sparks. That's the only complaint I have about the WNBA is it feels like the season goes by so fast, just because it's so short and there's not that many teams. So like the wait is super long for the season. That's not the off season is like so it's like half a year long, whereas the NBA it's like only been 4 months. And the thing with the NBA is like there isn't even that much of a rest because the season ends. I was just looking at it before because I want to do a somewhat of a draft episode at some point. And so the finals, if
I'll
it
know
goes
my
seven,
stuff by then.
yeah, if it goes seven, the finals it's June 22nd, and the draft is the 25th. So like Game 4 is the 13th. So somewhere between the 13th and the 22nd, it'll be over, and then the 25th the draft. Like I'll relatively know my stuff. Which, by the way, Game 3 is on my birthday. Pretty hype. Big win for the Thunder. Oh, that'll be on the road. They better win. If they lose, I would.
Defeat at the hands of the New York Knicks. That's when the Knicks will
That'll
grasp their 3-0 lead on the series.
yeah. Yo, I won't make another episode at that point. I think I might be dead. We got swept by the Knicks. I would potentially cry. Honestly, I think I would cry.
Liberty and Knicks rings. The streets of New York celebrate
Streets of New York
a
ring
city of
celebration.
champions once again. Could you imagine the streets of New York if they win it all? It's gonna
The Empire State Building would burn down.
it's gonna be like
Someone would
the
push it over.
polar opposite of 9/11. Like the complete reverse
Two
opposite.
new buildings are built in
Yeah,
excitement.
they'll build two buildings that night. That's that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, New York's been pretty crazy. Like all the videos and everything I've seen, it's
See,
wild. It seems like it's so fun.
you see Trey Young's tweet today
I did, and he's not wrong,
about the
dude.
OKC
They
fans.
call it Loud City for a reason, dude. It is.
Dude, I saw the Knicks fans were quote tweeting him. They were so mad, dude.
But like, it's not even wrong. Like, because New York has so many celebrities show up and stuff that like,
No, it's only because it's Trey Young and Knicks fans know he's doing it to piss them off,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he's pissing them off, so he's succeeding.
that is true. All right. anything else from everything that we talked about? Lottery, NBA playoffs, anything you want to get off your chest here?
No. Let's go Thunder, man. It's the
Yeah,
team I'm pulling to win it all, but I'm
Thunder
just
and
rooting for
four.
some good basketball down the stretch. Um, and the city of New York. Let's see if we can get this done. Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, this is episode whatever it is, 7, 8 of this podcast. Follow me and Chase on Twitter, and
Yes,
like,
you
comment,
should.
subscribe.
Yes.
Probably should have said that at the beginning. Alrighty, see you around. Peace out.